Welcome aboard, Chatty Chatters. We're going to get started with some Sid Meier's Civilization VII multiplayer first look in just a moment. In the meantime, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for more. We'll have some of our first looks here at Civ very soon ourselves. Well, you've already seen it before on the channel, but we haven't yet played multiplayer, so we'll be doing a lot of that in the future. So welcome aboard and good to see you all here. Welcome, welcome. All right. So, we're going to go live to a live stream already in progress, I believe, for Civ 7. Thank you very much for joining me after the break. And I hope you enjoyed our video on that new zombie game by the name of Last Outpost. But anyway, Civ has started a little bit of a multiplayer game, so we're going to go in and check it out and find out how it all works and what it's like. So welcome aboard. Good to see you all here. Oh, hold on. Is the stream down? Let's check. Dude, did they get hacked? Dude, they got hacked. All right, hold on. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay, I think that maybe that'll work. All right, there we go. Okay, so ask me anything you'd like about Civilization 7. I can answer most of your questions, but there's a few things that I couldn't share. Like, for example, Himiko that came out recently. They finally did a full reveal on her and her abilities and things to do with Japan and whatnot. And I think also, what was his name? Jose Rizal? I'm not exactly sure who that is. But the good thing about games is that there's so many different leaders and political figures and impactful folk over history that constantly, even now, you're still learning about new people all the time. So, yeah, good times. Anyway, welcome aboard. Good to see you all here, and thank you very much for hanging out. And, yeah. Good stuff. Does it have bears? Actually, that's one thing that I wish... Okay, so we played Aura History Untold before, and I do like in that game there's like dangerous animals. When your civilization is really primitive, you're still at risk of like being wiped out by like bears and wolves and things like that. Like in order to go into certain areas, you have to clear dangerous animals out. And that's kind of cool about Aura History Untold. And I wish Civ would have that for like certain animals that you could actually like, I don't know, maybe capture like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, that would be really cool. But I haven't seen any of that at all. I haven't seen any animals other than there are animals in the game like horses and camels that are resources that you can claim and then be able to use them and get different bonuses from them. But yeah, no, unfortunately, no actual bears. Do plebs put pineapples on pizza? Dude, I don't mind that, honestly. If someone hands me a slice of pineapple pizza, it's not something that I'm going to call or go online and order. But if I happen to go to an event and all they have is pineapple pizza left, it's like, yeah, all right, it's fine. It doesn't taste bad to me. It's got a little zing to it. That's fine. I think I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like it's not a big deal. People just like to make a big deal out of it. But there are other better pizzas. The real important question is, chat, what is the superior crust? Like, what is a good crust to have on a pizza? Do you like the deep dish, the stuffed? I like a good like regular crust. Like if you get your standard crust but it's of high quality, that's really good. Don't mind a thin crust either, or like a cracker crust, because then you get to fill up more on, I think, the cheese and the ingredients on top than the actual like dough and bread. But I mean, I have had some like good, like not deep dish, but like kind of somewhere between deep dish and like somewhere between that and regular crust. And there's this place. It's in Minnesota, and I'm sure it's in other places too, called Jets. And Jets has like a barbecue chicken pizza that has like it's a little bit more thicker than the standard crust. I don't think it's deep dish. Maybe they call it a deep dish, but it's not like a deep dish. Regardless, that is fire. They do such a good job. Like getting a corner piece of that, because I think they make it in a square. Bro, if you get that corner piece of Jets, let's just call it deep dish, because that's probably what it is. Barbecue chicken. Like that I should order for I should cater an event with that. Like that'd be wedding gourmet food. Like if somebody had Jets at their wedding, they're going to be in love for a long time. Absolutely. Jets should be a cultural building in Civ 7. Well, and I can't wait to see other cultures too. When I talk to the devs, and I'll have this dev interview up in a few days, I asked them some questions about the game, and I just kind of wanted to give them a couple of softballs in there just to see what they would say. And I asked them like what nations they would want to add in the future, what they would want to be, and both of them like were of Scandinavian heritage, or one of them had a PhD in like Norse mythology and Scandinavia studies, whatever it is. I don't know, but yeah, I'd love to see Norway, Sweden, Denmark in there, and all those like leaders for them too, because remember, now you have the civilization and you have the leaders, so it would be badass as hell to get what's his name, Gustavus Adolphus, man. There's a university here in Minnesota too named after him. Gustavus is what they call it, and that'd be cool. But what does he call Lion of the North? I mean, that's just one leader, which would be cool as hell. Then imagine getting the Swedes, or actually, he would probably be like maybe an Age of Exploration leader. But imagine if you also got like a Age of Antiquity leader too, like a famous Viking. That'd be badass as well. I really would like to see more um, kind of tribal leaders, like people who were like smaller groups. Like we're not talking about like Julius Caesar and stuff like that. I'm talking about like um, what's his name, uh, Tumatesh or whatever of the of that tribe as well. I forget. Also, it's good to lead them with the Mississippians too, which is really cool. Dude, I'm learning so much from history. Like I kind of forget there's so much stuff in other games that I'm having trouble keeping like previous Civ games separate from this one, and then also other games and history figures from here. There are quite a few things, and they mix together because usually in previous game you'd think, oh, okay, Napoleon, obviously France. But now that you can do like the Normans and stuff, then there should be other leaders for that too. So hopefully they add more. We'll see. They added the gritty dance. I have no idea what the hell that is. I don't know. Bjorn Ironside is a leader. Yeah, I'd love to do something as the Vikings would be really cool. That'd be a really powerful early age. Well, actually, I guess that could qualify as Age of Antiquity because that's who probably would be fighting the Romans at a certain point. Well, after that. Well, all right. So in the game, there's only 3 ages, so they would probably more likely fight in the Age of Antiquity than in the Age of Exploration, because I think the Romans are more prevalent in the first one, in the first thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. So anyway, now's a good opportunity, though, yeah, to keep getting the hype up. Soak pineapple in a light marinade with chili. Grill it until it starts to get slightly burnt, then put it on pizza before cooking it. That's another good thing that I've had too. Is like there was like a pineapple. I've had something like that, like a pineapple salsa. Mango and pineapple are really good with like spice, like in a salsa dip. So honestly, that's I think why it applies on pizza for me, because you can have basil and what is that? There's a couple other spices that bring a little heat to it too. Uh, Not basil, but I mean that goes well with it. But there's some that bring heat, and then of course the marinara and stuff like that are good too. And then you can make your pizza a little spicy too by adding a little something extra to it, maybe a little habanero or whatever on top. But I think it goes the marinara, if you make that a little spicier, is good. Something like that. Cajun pepper, yeah, that'd be good too. Yeah, Cajun pepper would be good. There's certainly a hell of a lot of things you can do to a pizza. Mm-hmm. How friendly will Civ 7 be for mods? I think they said. Um, I looked in the. I have access to the game. I played it and I can play it right now. Well, not on the stream, but I did look under additional features, and there is a mod section, but I haven't seen anything. So I guess I don't know, because I haven't. There's nothing to download, and I haven't like done it myself, so I'm not sure. But it looks like it's already there, but I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if you'll be able to go to Steam and go to the Steam Workshop and just download a modified leader or civilization. I don't think you'll be able to do that. But I don't know what mods could be beyond that then. Maybe somebody could bring in additional units. Maybe that would be a thing. I don't know. We'll have to see what people come up with. Also, maps would be a good mod though, because like day one, people would honestly, that's one thing I haven't seen is that all the maps are randomized. But it would be cool if the developers went in and handmade a couple of maps that randomized where resources were. Like, let's just say you wanted to start in a map of the Mediterranean, or you wanted to start a map of the Earth, or Africa, or North America, or South America. That'd be cool. But I'd also like that where resources are randomized, where one time you play it and there's a huge gold deposit, and the next time it's just fertile ground for farms or something, or whatever. That would be cool. I would really, yeah, that'd be good. I'd like the land to be the same, but I would like the resources to be different each time. That's kind of the Manderlord's way to do things. A lot of games do that. Welcome to all the new subs, too, by the way, guys. Thanks for subbing to the channel for more Civ 7. We're just standing by and just chatting Civ. I'm in no rush today. We got a lot of time to just chill. I was going to play All Will Fall, but when I saw them doing some multiplayer, I wanted to cover it because I myself have yet to play multiplayer, and I wanted to see what they had to say about it. But I do want to. I hope we get a chance to play with Uthris and Bradford. Shefox it said she was interested as well. So we may get additional keys to Civ 7 too to give away to you guys. So, if you'd like to win a key to Civ 7, just subscribe and we'll see if they give some. I don't know if they will, but they've been hinting at that to give us keys so we could play with our community and be able to record like multiplayer videos and stuff in advance, but we'll have to see what that means. So we'll check it out. You mean you can't play as the Wookiees on the planet Kashyyyk? Yeah. Okay, see, that'd be cool. Like a Star Wars mod, somebody making Star Wars leaders and stuff would be badass. That'd be cool as hell to play, like maybe someone mods in Abraham Lincoln and then also mods in like, I don't know, Palpatine. Be hilarious. Abraham Lincoln versus Emperor Palpatine. That'd be hilarious. I'd love that. Deathstroke, thank you very much for the 5-bomb, dude, for chat. Yeah, Lord of the Rings would be outstanding, absolutely. And so would like Game of Thrones. Yeah, there's so much potential for people to mod stuff in a game like Civ. It's super cool. I'm really surprised we haven't gotten something official where they tried to make like a Civ-like game or like a 4X-like game that's official. You know what I mean? Like there's certainly mods and there's maybe been DLCs and stuff. And there's probably some really good mods that would be better than an actual game. But I feel like the fact that Lord of the Rings, and we haven't really gotten any good Lord of the Rings games in a while. The last one was the Gollum game, and that was just a meme. That Gollum game was actually good, and how bad it was. It was like playing a PlayStation 2 game. I can't believe everybody was so mad about that. As in, like, that certainly is a game that should have been made 20 years ago. So it was definitely it would have been a good game in 20 years ago, like in 2002. That would have been a good game. But I think people are just we all time traveled when we played that. Is Civ 7 multi and or single player? It's both. You can play a multiplayer or single player against AI. And then you can also do a mix where you play as players against the AI too. So like you and a friend could team up against like 2 other AI opponents or something like that. You just ordered some pizza? Hell yeah. Content creators had a good time with its jank. See, and that's the thing too, is that okay, if you're mad at a game existing, but yet a content creator is able to play it and entertain a bunch of people, then at least in terms of it being like tuber bait, then that's fine. Like that's kind of what the whole Goat Simulator game was for a while. Like some of those games are like, it'd be funnier to watch the gimmick channels cover that stuff. Like there are games that apply to both. Like My Summer Car is both a good game and hilarious to watch. All the gimmick streams. I built the car and I built and this and I. That's fine. Like that's totally fine. But also, it's a good game. But then there's some games that are just better to watch. So like that Squirrel with a Gun game was fun. Squirrel with a Gun was a hilarious game, but I think it was just more enjoyable for me to stream that for you and for you to watch that than for you guys to like play that on your own. Although I could be wrong. I mean, it still had some funny like PlayStation 2 elements to it. It felt like an old like Ratchet and Clank type game in a way, where the platforming was quite fun. So we'll see. We'll see. Civ is famous for MP. I've had a great time with friends playing. Yeah, and I feel like more than ever, you can actually finally play through a game of Civ now, because you can actually get to the initial... If you wanted to just play in the modern age and play it as if it were like Victoria, or, well, more like Hearts of Iron 4, then you could do that. I guess Victoria 3 would be more like in the Age of Exploration. But if you just want to go as Harriet Tubman versus Benjamin Franklin in a head-to-head bout, end all be all battle to the death in the modern age, then you could just start with that. There, in Civ, that whole advanced start mode is really good. If you choose to start in like the Age of Exploration, they let you plop down a couple of cities in advance and stuff like that, and it's a really good way to almost act as if you'd been playing through the Age of Antiquity already. So I'm curious to see how the modern age is going to work with going to, you see all the Sherman tanks and stuff there. It's going to be interesting because when you get to the modern age, it's going to be all about how you laid out your cities. And you're going to play that differently because, like, if you played Age of Antiquity to the Age of Exploration to the modern age, you're thinking about being the best at each of those ages so you can get into your golden age. So if you're playing as like Confucius, then you're going to want to do all the things that give him all the benefits in each of those, like whatever era is best or age is best. So you always want to be like number one in each age. But if you start in the modern age, when you lay out those cities, you're just thinking about only the benefits of that time. So you might only pick a leader that's better for the modern age, and then you might only pick a leader that's better for, like maybe combat or whatever you're planning on doing at that time. Because if you start in the Age of Antiquity, nobody knows what's going to happen. You might have a world war right during the Age of Antiquity, or you might just not even fight each other until the end of the Exploration Age. Who knows? But one thing I thought was cool in this game is that they have those crises where like you could be invaded by Viking hordes or something like that, like at the start of the Age of Exploration. So there could be something that just like is a huge thing everybody's got to deal with. So that'll be kind of a weird thing to see. But yeah. All right. Well, got a little bit more time to chat then. Are you late? No. Everybody's on time. We're going to check out some Civ 7 multiplayer and see how it all goes. Devs are going to be playing, so, I've also played quite a bit of I have played Civilization 7, and I've gone to Firaxis Studios. I was in Baltimore and went to their studio. That's where I was staying. But so if you have any questions, let me know, because I'll try to answer anything you got. I also feel like this should be a Game Pass game. It's not going to be on Game Pass at launch, but it's also not going to be on Game Pass. Like they haven't said no, but I think it'll be maybe an eventual thing. Is this a mod? No, everything they're going to be playing is vanilla. I don't know who they're going to be playing as, but I think my favorite leader so far has probably been Napoleon was pretty cool, but I didn't really get to use him too much. But I think maybe going for more. I think I'd have to think about it a bit more. I think I'd have to play a full game to really know. But, well, Augustus is pretty good, right? He's pretty standard. Any of the Age of Antiquity leaders feel like they're just, like, pretty well balanced. How do you like the city walls compared to the other versions of Civ? I like that. For the town that... So there's two levels of cities in the game. There's like cities, which are big, and then towns, which are smaller. But you can upgrade a town to a city. But when you go to fight for a city, you've got to capture it like sector by sector, which is kind of cool because if somebody's going to blitz you in the Age of Antiquity or something, it still takes a while to capture a town. So you do have a little bit more of a chance to fight back. And walls kind of work like that too, where they wall off like districts of a town. And so it kind of makes it a little bit more epic to battle for like the capital city instead of it just kind of being over so quickly. The battle can take place more in a city than it does outside, where it's like you would want your defenses outside the city, and if they break through that, then they capture. But if they break through your defenses and then you're fighting in the city walls, it gives you a little bit more of a chance. And the person who's pushing's really got to push more. So there's more power, I think, to the defender in some ways, but there are still plenty of abilities and ways around that, especially in the landscape. Like if somebody's got a river that leads into their capital or something like that, there's no way to really wall off a river. You could defend that and stuff with your navy, but once they get inland and go in an inland river, that's gonna be a problem. Xerxes seem powerful. I've not played as Xerxes yet, but I've definitely I've always liked to have Xerxes in the game. I think he's always kind of fun to have, and I always expected Xerxes to go crazy and like attack, but he doesn't. When we played Aura History Untold, I think Xerxes was in that too, and he would always kind of like he would always just try to start problems. He was like he would always act like Genghis Khan or something like that. Although I can't believe they didn't have him in Civ 7 yet. I don't think Genghis Khan is in, but the what do they call it? There's something to do with the Mongols in the game, but it's not direct like I think it should be. Harriet Tubman's the best leader. She's pretty cool with the ability to... She's a good military leader because she gives that ability for units to ignore, what is it, trees and things like that. She can make extra moves and stuff. Yeah, Xerxes' military and economic focus. That's pretty good. Because I would want to go for peace and just try to build cool city. Like at the first few times I play Civ, I want to avoid wars. But you know how that always goes with me in Anno 1800. Like I always say that, and then we always end up invading everybody. But this time I mean it. You can trust me as political leader Raptor. You can totally trust me. I totally wouldn't invade my friends. But yeah, I mean Xerxes, trade and commerce is cool until it's not. I mean, you have to be more militarily focused, but you also do. I've tried to play with like little to no military in this game, but you got to, because there are independent nations in this game that are like, they're rough. Like they can deploy a lot of units. Like I've gone into finding like a hostile independent nation before, and they'll have like 4 and then 6 and then like 8 armies, and they'll just be bouncing all around like trying to kill your settlers and stuff like that. So you really got to like be on your toes with that. So you really need a military more than I thought you would in this game. I thought, okay, maybe I could do like maybe a slinger group and like 2 spearmen or something just to kind of park around and just in case things go south. But no, it's almost like you've got to you know how you can pack people into a military the leader or whatever, and then you can unpack them. It's almost like you've got to do that. Like you've got to keep a full group together like that, and then deploy them when you spot them near their base, and try to ambush them, thin them out, and then go for their base. That's a good way to use the commanders at the start, or the generals. And the unpacking of those troops is really neat, because I've had some difficulty unpacking armies before with mountains around. I was really surprised when I would pack 4 units into a leader, and then you'd go to unpack, and it was very difficult to, like, if you try to close in on an enemy capital and there's a lot of mountains and stuff around, you're probably going to want to unpack way before you get to those mountain ranges, because you need some room to maneuver all of your troops and maybe flank around the water or something like that. I thought I could rush, deploy, surround, and basically like siege the city in some sort of a blitz, basically, where I would blitz to the city and then surround it and then kill their armies and capture. But no, I'm going to have to refine that strategy a bit. I did experiment with what would happen if you, like if units could kind of fight if they were not deployed, like what would happen if they were not deployed, or deployed poorly, or deployed early and fortified. And it seems like deploying just before the fight is the best way to do it. Not too early and not too late. You got to do it like 2 moves before you plan to fight, I feel. And fortifications are important too, because if you're invading or about to launch an attack, it seems like a good idea to fortify first, but you're giving a big red flag to the enemy. But fortifications are smart, because especially if you're fighting the AI will try to attack you in your base or in your territory while you're attacking them. They won't send all their forces to deal with the problem. They'll try to invade you too. So if you create like a Maginot line or a navy or something like that, and then try to bog them down and their main forces, then you can try to use your forces to get into their territory. So you do need to have a sort of attack and defense. At least that's every one of the fights that I've gotten into so far. Seems to be that way. Oh, what's up, Josh? Welcome aboard. First play of Civ 7. I played it back in August, I think. It was my first playthrough of Civ 7. I played as I think I was the Romans versus the Egyptians. I got into a war with Egypt, declared war on me, and I was like, well, what the hell is this? What's up, John? Good to see you too. All right, we're about a minute and a half away. Let's see what the devs get up to with their battles here. Yeah, I feel like unpacking shouldn't be necessarily necessary with a fleet, because I feel like if a navy is going to do operations, they would keep together in a formation that would be tight enough to be one hex. So I'm like struggling with the idea of, okay, it makes sense to deploy a large army on the land, but I feel like a Navy should be tight together, and then aircraft shouldn't be together at all. Like if you have I haven't really seen how the Air Force leaders work. Like squadron leaders, I feel like they should all be together in again, another tight formation. Like you'd think, like if you had an ace pilot and then a bunch of planes with that ace, that they would become a powerful group. But it doesn't work that way. Did you see the Farm Sim VR game trailer? No, are they working on is Farming Simulator from Giant Software actually working on an official, like, VR game? That'd be cool. Music in this game is top tier, though. I want them to add more civs, not because I want to play as them, but I just want more music. I hope they continue to do that. I don't remember how many DLCs Civ 6 had, or 5. But, you know, whenever they added new cultures, it was good. Oh. That was abrupt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream for Civilization VII. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Sean Wilson. I am the Associate QA Lead here at Firaxis. And today I am joined by Ed Beach, our Creative Director. Ed, wonderful having you here.
Welcome, everybody.
That's cool.
Really exciting day. We're very, very close to launch now. This is our last live stream before launch. We have some really cool, exciting things that we're going to be showing today.
Civ 6 had a lot.
I'll let you introduce the other guests that we have here.
18 DLCs?
All right, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Additionally, we have one of our designers here today. We have Tim Fleming, who will be joining us for today's live stream.
Hello. Yeah, I've been at Firaxis for a while now, but this is the first Civ game I've been able to work on, so I'm very excited about that, as we are very close to having everybody be able to play. And I've mostly been working on pacing and progression type things up until now, and in the future I'll be helping to work on a lot of the free updates and new things that are coming down the pipe.
Oh, 14 were Civ packs.
Doesn't really understand what pacing and progression means, but we threw some really nasty problems Tim's way with this design. We have the game broken up into chapters, or 3 ages, and trying to make it so that the empires sort of reached a certain power at the end of the age, so they could do everything they needed to finish off that age, but then they came into the next stage at an appropriate power level, so they were either not too like slingshotted ahead of the other civs, but they were also had some good recognition for what they'd accomplished in the previous age. That was a really tricky problem. So Tim helped us out a ton. We had a whole group of designers that were working on those types of problems, and we're really happy with where that is going into Civ 7 launch.
I remember the QA team and us, we were getting a lot of those numbers together for y'all, delivering those with the saves and such. So.
Yeah, so you know, that's a kind of a cross-disciplinary team where we get a bunch of designers, we get some AI engineers to make sure that the AI is keeping up with it, and the input from the QA and even some of the like tracking and telemetry kind of data that we get is invaluable to make all that come together.
Yeah. All right, so Ed, why don't you go ahead and let us know about all the cool stuff we got going on today for the live stream?
So this live stream is a little bit different than our previous 3. The previous 3 were really focusing on ages and how ages work and what the gameplay is in those ages. This time, we're again looking at a new part of the game, but it's the very, very end.
Ooh, end game, baby.
How you win a victory, what it means to finish off a Civ 7 game. But we're going to add a twist to it. Most people are going to probably experience these victories for the first time in a single-player game, but this is in a multiplayer game. So Tim and I will be playing head-to-head, and we'll be looking at what's Tim's path to victory, what's my path to victory. They'll be a little bit different from each other. So we'll really be able to give people a big comfort level with what victories are all about and how they work. However, once we're done that multiplayer showdown, which we have no idea how it's going to come out because we've practiced the beginning of it, but we have no idea what the final result's going to be. So that's going to be very interesting. But after that, we have a whole segment where we want to talk about what our community can expect after our game launches, what we're going to be doing for post-release support.
DLCs.
How, like Tim was talking about, he's going to be helping organize and get our team in place to get all those post-release updates out to everybody. But we also have additional content drops and free updates to people, and we want to run through all that and how that's going to work with everybody.
Awesome. Very exciting stuff. Now, before we go ahead and start looking at setting up a multiplayer game, I want to give a shout out to the collector's edition of the game.
Are they going to show?
This is an awesome option for fans who are really into merchandise.
I like
and
the scout
collectors.
figure, and that's about it.
There's a
that
whole
clock
bunch
is
of cool
goofy to
things
me.
that
That's
you
just
can
plastic.
keep and hold on to and show off to your friends. So don't miss your opportunity to check that out. All right.
Well, it's all plastic.
Now let's go ahead and look at how we are actually going to be setting up a multiplayer game.
Oh, good. They're actually going to show the setup.
This is a segment that we decided to add to this live stream because we did not show a multiplayer game in a previous live stream. And even though there have been a lot of creators who are giving previews of Civilization 7 and our fans have seen a lot of that information by now, there hasn't been a lot of focus on what are your options with a multiplayer game. How can you set it up? Can I play just one age, and how would that work? And what can I turn on? What can I turn off? So we wanted to run through that, and so that's what we're going to do over the next couple minutes, just to give people an idea of how you would get into a game like the one Tim and I are going to be playing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the avatar. My player, I'm called Gilgadude here, which is kind of fun. But just as a reminder to players that we have added a whole meta progression system.
This is cool as hell.
And there's lots of things that you
this
can
system's
unlock
really
as
neat.
you're playing the game. And you can show that off to some of the other people you're going to be playing online with through this customize feature. So customize will allow you to select a badge.
There's a lot of different goals and things that you can do per leader and per
playing the game.
civilization.
That goes in.
So it's like
your banner,
challenges
which are one of these cool backdrops.
per leader in civilization.
And you can continue to customize it just to make sure that when you show up for a multiplayer game, you kind of get to add a little bit of your own flair to it. So we're not going to specifically set it up and worry about all that right now, but I just wanted to point out to people that that's one of the
cool.
cool
I mean, as you
features
play,
that
you get to
they'll
unlock
see,
stuff
with Civ
just
7
for
multiplayer.
cosmetics,
Very
so
cool.
whatever.
Excited to
Yeah,
see
that's
all the
cool.
cards everybody gets to make.
Like it's a plus one.
So now let's go to the Create Games screen. This is how you set up any multiplayer game. It'll be familiar to people who played Civ 5 and Civ 6 multiplayer, but there are a few important new changes that we wanted to highlight.
What's up, Nicholas?
The number one change is that now you select an age as one of the primary things that you do setting up a game.
Yep.
And we'll make this look kind of like the way this game that Tim
I
and
hope
are
they
gonna be
show
playing
the
set up.
advanced.
So I'll select modern here as the age that we're going to start in. That'll be an advanced start into modern, where you get a certain area of the map allocated to you. You get to place your cities as you like to place those cities, and you're off and running as soon as the game starts. The turn timer is again present with us, just like it has been in previous games. We recommend always setting that to keep your pace going. And you have options like you have in previous Civ titles for difficulty, game speed. We're going to be playing at quick speed today, which isn't the very fastest speed. That's online, but it is faster than a standard game goes on. And that's sort of our default for any kind of multiplayer games. It does enhance the speed of play compared to a regular game and seems very comfortable for multiplayer, but some people might want to go even faster with like an online speed in some of their games. Continents Plus and small map size are the default settings. We actually chose a tiny map for this game because we just wanted for the live stream to simplify it down a little bit. So we have 2 human players, 2 AI players that you'll see once we get into the game. And then the final selections are sort of very specific to Civ 7. A lot of these are
Map
pretty
sizes,
new.
by the way, like
for instance,
small,
the mementos
tiny.
that you can get through meta progression. Those can be turned on or off.
The maps
We're
don't
gonna
seem
turn
very
those
big.
off for our game. The crisis system that Tim was the
Oh,
sort of designer
you can
leading
turn
the
that
charge on
off.
that. That was an important part of setting up our pacing at the end of an age and how those worked out. That can be
Dude,
turned off for multiplayer.
when you turn
If you are doing a
disaster
single-age
intensity to
multiplayer
low,
game, we actually do
disasters
recommend probably turning
happen
it off. Usually
all
you
the
get enough
time.
mayhem
Even
from
I don't
the
even
other
think you can
humans
turn
in your
disasters
game
off.
that you don't need the crisis as well.
There's no way to turn off like
So this is a look
volcano
at,
eruption,
exactly
floods,
how we would
thunderstorms.
set up a multiplayer game, what type
All
of
those
options
things
you
can't even
have.
turn them off, and they happen
And,
all the
we're really
time,
excited
even
for
on
the potential
low.
For multiplayer here in Civ 7, we'll be showing you how much fun like a modern age-specific game is here in our stream today. So we are
Look at that,
quite interested to see how
no
the
age
community adopts
transitions.
this new format for multiplayer. And
There's a
takes
way
it
to
and
lock
runs
it to a certain
Very
age.
exciting.
But if you're starting in the
So,
modern age,
before we actually hop into the game, because the game is going to be showing us some new content, we got a video for y'all to check out.
oh, Prussia.
The erste erste Bürgerpflicht ist, seinem Vaterland.
Friedrich the Great was a complex figure who combined a sharp military mind with a deep appreciation for culture and philosophy. Which is why he arrives with two personas to capture this surprising dichotomy.
A lot of leaders
Will
do
you
have
build
two
your empire
personas.
on cold hard logic, or embrace the refined tastes of a Renaissance man? As the oblique persona, Friedrich gets a tactical head start with powerful army commanders and infantry support for each technology investment he makes. As the Baroque persona, besides an incredible fit, Friedrich advances his cultural legacy through might and becomes even mightier as his cultural patronage grows. Consider pairing Friedrich with Prussia in the modern age
Ooh.
to get big combat bonuses for being antisocial. Because who needs friends anyway? Or choose a different path all your own. But whatever you build, remember to build something you believe in.
That is pretty. That's cool. That looks great.
All right.
The Schwani
very
pack looks cool.
So our new leader, Frederick. So Ed, how about you tell me a little bit about why you selected Frederick as a leader for Civ 7?
So Frederick the Great is one of the greatest military strategists of all time. He's been in Civilization before, but for Civ 5 and 6, we went for different directions. So we were, looking for leaders from Central Europe, like we always do. And this particular time, with our age system, we've set it up so we now are focused in on a lot of what's going on in the 19th century, Napoleonic Wars time period, and leading on into the World Wars.
That's
sort of
gonna be cool.
The brackets for how the modern age is set up. And we decided that to represent Germany during that time period, we would go with a Prussia Civ, which would be sort of a unique opportunity. We've never had Prussia as a specific Civ in our game before. So once we decided that Prussia was going to be in, it sort of made sense that this was the time Frederick should make his comeback. He hasn't been around since Civ 4, but he's certainly a popular figure.
Hasn't been around since Civ 4.
As you can see,
Damn.
he's got two personas. So there's also a cultural side to him, as well as the military genius side to him. So he worked really well with our persona
That's kind of cool that they
system, and
cut them in half to
lo
give
and
them more
behold, we
abilities
decided
so they're
that
not
we
OP.
had to have Frederick.
Very cool. And yeah, you're
They didn't
gonna
have
be
to cut a
playing
bunch of
Frederick
abilities.
and Prussia in this game.
You just kind of play as one or the
So,
other, which is
do you
kind of
have
neat.
a little bit of a strategy on what you're going to be looking at?
Okay,
Multi-district
so if we
cities,
can
yeah.
Look at the game that we
This
have
game
set
does
up
have that.
here. I'm on the northern end of our eastern landmass. I have only two
Whoa,
cities
damn.
at the moment, but some of these towns are very big, and so they can easily be turned into cities at a nominal cost because they have such high populations. So I may be doing that here and there. So the first thing I do, especially in this situation where you and your QA staff have put together a really engaging situation, and we're trying to figure out how to push forward in this game and how. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
think Civ
defeat
4
Tim
was the
here,
most
is
recent
I have
game
to
he
look
was
at
in.
the 4 different legacy
So he
paths
wasn't
and
in
figure out
5
which
and
one is going to be the most
6.
sensible way for me to try to get a victory in here. So we'll take a quick look over at where we are in age progress. We'll see that we're doing really well on the Railroad Tycoon economic path. We're 2/3, 3/4 of the way done that one.
Railroad Tycoon, brother.
But the other paths, we have more distance to go. And if we go into the age ranking screen and look at specifically Railroad Tycoon points, we've earned 357 out of 500. Now, just to remind people how those are earned, you get a Railroad Tycoon point each turn for each resource that is slotted into one of your factories and is being sort of produced into a factory finished good. So if I go to my resource screen, I can count up how
Christoph,
many
thanks for the 48 months,
resources
dude.
I have in factories. I have in
Wow.
Berlin,
You get a
a
hell of a
tea
lot of
factory and 3
resources.
tea resources there. In Dresden, I have a fish factory and 5 fish slotted there. But notice I have another fish I could move in there if I wanted to. And then I have a chocolate factory in Hamburg. So all in all, at the moment, I am earning 11 points per turn. I'm within about 15 turns or less of being able to get to victory here. Now, once that's not a victory as in the game is over. I am within 15 turns of unlocking
Gotta play
a
his
victory
pressure.
condition.
Gotta play his pressure.
That's different in Civ 7 because you try to progress through the legacy path, and then there's this capstone moment that you have to go out and do something dramatic to win the game. We have a dev diary coming out later today talking about victories, so people can read all about that, but we'll be explaining that in the stream here as we go. So the economic legacy path, when I finish that, my next step is to establish the World Bank. I have to get a great banker. He has to travel around to the different capital cities. We'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of that. But anyways,
how
I
the
think
hell
this
does
is
that
my
work?
strongest path.
Ed,
And
tell us
basically, I just
more.
have to survive about 20 turns, and then I should be okay. But Tim's got some interesting ways he can win, and that's going to be a big challenge.
So awesome. Thank you very much, Ed. So now getting into
Who's
Tim's
Tim playing
gameplay.
as?
Tim, you're going to be playing Napoleon of France.
Never heard of
So
him.
let's hear a little bit about that combo and what your strategy is going to be going into this.
Right, so I have Napoleon, I have the revolutionary persona, which is a nice
Dan,
combination
how do we feel about the
of
UI?
culture
I've been hearing a lot of
and
people
military.
saying they don't
And
like the UI.
France as well is like a very strong culture.
If you don't like the
civilization, but
UI,
they have
what
some
don't you
very
like
strong,
about it?
Unique,
I'm just curious.
militaristic bonuses.
Because people are
like
just
this
saying, I don't
guard
like the UI,
material,
but I don't know why. They
unique
haven't said
which
why.
is both a melee
wanna know
unit
why.
and a ranged
I want
unit.
answers.
So it's very strong to be able to do ranged attacks without taking reciprocal damage, and still being able to sort of fix bayonets and get stuck in if I need to, and not be very vulnerable. So they're a very flexible, very good military unit. And I have my unique quarter up here as well, which is
Oh,
giving me a
damn,
lot
he's
of
like
culture
right
and
up
happiness.
against Russia, dude.
So you might be thinking that I'm going for a culture victory, but you know, actually, I'm going to take all of that culture and happiness and slingshot it into a military ideology victory.
This is perfect.
Very
Napoleon
cool.
versus
Where-
Friedrich.
You know, you can go through this by conquering without a sort of cultural component to this, but if you use your culture to access your ideology and then attack your ideological opponents, you'll go up this much, much faster. So it's 3 points if I capture a settlement of someone with an opposing ideology. So I really only need
38 size
4 or
city,
5
yeah.
more settlements here of somebody who is opposing me to get to the end of this. And that has a capstone, which will involve building the Manhattan
Tim's doing well.
Project and Operation Ivy ultimately, and therefore establishing that I have, you know, complete military dominance as the sort of world's sole nuclear power at that point, sort of mirroring the United States at the end of World War II. So to that end, I've got lots of military units over here. My ideology is fascism. I'm the only fascist in the world, so everybody kind of hates me, as they should. And but that gives me a lot of targets. And we've selected Jose here, the Jerez himself of Mexico, as my target.
Oh,
And so if I can take out a good chunk of his settlements here, that will get me on a nuclear trajectory.
literally. We're going to see
And now I
nukes,
believe
boys?
there's even a little bit of history between
All right.
Napoleon and Frederick. So
Right.
a
Yeah,
little
this
bit
is
of
a
that.
classic showdown. The French Empire and the Prussian Empire, the Franco-Prussian conflicts here, and you know, I believe Napoleon even said at one point, you know, that he never would have conquered Europe or wouldn't have made it as deep in if Frederick the Great was still alive during his time. So I guess maybe we'll find out if that was true
We
or
can
not.
put that to the test.
Yep.
So-
It's going to be a great what-if moment from history reenacted right here in our live stream.
Right, but Napoleon didn't have nukes, and hopefully I will. So maybe that'll help.
All right, so let's take a moment to address some questions from K-Dog The Truth. Do you just play through a specific age, or are you able to play through an entire 3-age campaign in multiplayer?
So you can do either one.
Yep,
I think if you're just organizing games out on the internet, you know, with not necessarily
700
with your
gold
friends, it's
per
gonna be
turn
more
for
likely
Prussia.
to
Look
be
at that,
just a single
708 gold.
game that you'll
Dude's
set
got
up and
so
play
much
through.
factories.
But if you've got a friend group that can, you know, play either a whole bunch one weekend or over successive weekends, absolutely you can set up that multiplayer campaign. So you'll play through Antiquity, a save game will be created at the end of that, and then that can be loaded in and can be the start of your next session.
Parts of the UI you don't like seem very modern, minimalist
There
style.
have been some
lack of
questions
character,
about
needs more flair.
who
on
gets
some
to choose
screens. Okay.
their
That's fair.
civilization in the next stage first. If you are doing one of those linked
You know what this
campaigns.
reminds me of?
And our
Rise
answer
of
to that is,
Nations. The UI reminds me of Rise of
every
Nations.
group's going to have their own preferences.
You remember Rise of
Some
Nations?
groups might decide, whoever's in first place absolutely gets to pick whoever scored the most legacy points. Some people might want to help somebody catch up. Some people might want to stick by specific Civ Unlock rules that either their group has set up or that the game has. So we don't really dictate that. It's up to players to choose as they are in the lobby setting up to launch into the exploration game.
Very cool. Awesome. Also, shout out to
artillery firing at
KD
the
Magic for KM
capital of
Magic
Mexico.
7 for the compliment on my hair. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the game a bit more here. So, you are currently going fully engaged into the battle over here at Mexico. Tell us a little bit about the unit setup you got here.
Artillery.
Right, so I have my Guard Imperial. They are
Naval
attacking
units.
these fortified settlements with their range attacks. It's not doing a ton of damage because of the fortifications, ranged units attacking units that are in fortifications or which have dug in with fortifications are less effective. So I really need these siege units to break down these walls, but as you kind of see, this navigable river is really making a problem. It's actually sandwiched in between two navigable rivers, which is making it very difficult for me to approach by land. And it's something that especially in the modern age, once these modern cities get rather large, you really need a combined arms approach to attack these things. So I'm using my
Shows a
navy
sailboat, but we're in the modern
here
age with diesel
from
and
offshore.
coal
And I especially have
ships.
this fleet commander here, which has got this bombardment tree stacked full of great, especially the splash damage bonuses for attacking from the sea to land. I don't really have an air force set up here, but Jose does, so that's not great for me. I'm a little bit technologically behind everybody else, so that's kind of my Achilles heel here. If I could, I would really love to have some air units over here, but I don't. But over here, where I am going to be in much more of a defensive posture against a technologically superior Prussia, I really want to build out my air force as fast as I can so I don't not at too big of a disadvantage.
Very cool. Awesome. Now, Ed, how do you feel about what seems to be a good friend of yours getting invaded right now and that threat off of your southern
It's
border?
absolutely something that I need to pay a lot of attention to because, like
There's
Tim was
a- there's
pointing
a lot
out,
of
I
units
think if
there.
he takes 5 settlements here, it's pretty much game over. He's been threatening to nuke me if he gets deep in the military legacy path. So basically, I feel like I'm at one of those carnival games where
You could see a
it's
nuke at any moment.
Dunking booth, and I'm sitting perched on a chair precariously, and if Tim does well, I'm going in the water because I'm going to get nuked. So that's a little bit of an uncomfortable place to be, but hopefully. I did just tweak my factories a little bit while Tim was talking about his military. Hopefully he wasn't paying attention to me admitting that. So I actually think I can maybe do a little bit better than 20 turns in terms of how long it's going to take me to finish the Railroad Tycoon path. I do have several squadron commanders that are filling up with my air units, and Prussia does have a unique Stuka air unit, which is a great ground attack aircraft, one of the new types of aircraft that we showed off in the modern live stream last time. So overall, cautiously optimistic. We'll see how this goes.
Very cool. So while talking about aircraft a little bit, and you were mentioning you might want some, and because Jose is really using that as an advantage, show us how some of that aircraft combat's going to be able to work out or work against you.
Right, like you just saw Jose destroy one of my artillery pieces here that I really need to get these walls down with his air attacks, so that's not great for me. I'm building my biplanes over here as much as possible. The modern age fighter units are sort of sectioned out into fighter
Trench
style
fighter.
air units, ground attack air units, and siege air units, like these bombers.
Oh,
And they
ground
really are
attack.
specialized in different roles. You can use them against other things, but these fighter air units are really good at fighting other air units. Ground
The other
attack
game
units are
announcement
good
came
at
out, Endless
attacking
Legend
ground
2.
and sea
First one's a
units.
great game. Oh,
And
really?
the bombers are
Okay.
really what you want to use against cities. I'm not really looking to go on the offensive in the air over here against what are going to be definitely, and Prussia has a unique plane as well that I need to watch out for. So I'm loading up on fighters, and
I wanna play as
even
Prussia.
hopefully biplanes will get the job done.
The next time I
don't
could
think
put
I'm
out a
gonna make it
video
to
is
a better
February 3rd,
air
chat.
unit before he gets into his economic victory.
And I'm
So
thinking I'm
on
going to
the
show
clock
off
today.
Japan and
it sounds
Prussia.
like
I think
there's
I'm going to do
real
Prussia
rock, paper,
first.
scissors to
Then a
air
little bit of
combat
Japan.
in
Absolutely.
That'll be
Civ
cool.
7.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and go for another question. Garrett Kidd is asking about when setting up, when in a multiplayer game,
Mm-hmm.
you transition and you select the new civs. We went into that a little bit, but who gets to select the civs first, and how does that interact with the associated civs that you unlock?
That's a good question.
So, like I was explaining, ultimately, if the community has one way that they like to do this and they want us to enforce it in the game, we're happy to go ahead and put those rules in the game. But we thought it was more sensible, especially, we've always made it so that multiplayer communities can kind of develop their own ecosystem for like how they do balance patches to tweak the civs so that they're better set up for multiplayer, how they, make rules for choosing who gets to play which civs, like if they're having a tournament. Those kind of things get very specialized and are very curated by those different multiplayer communities. And we didn't want to over-specify that within our game. So for right now, it really is up to each group to decide what order they want to allow civs to be
Okay.
picked, even if you're rolling from
So there's no
1H to
rules.
Very cool.
At least not
so
enforced.
Now getting back into the game, Ed, how's the economic scaling looking?
So we've only finished one full turn, so it hasn't progressed, tremendously. But I have slipped a few more factory resources in there. I was able to set it up so I have a full 6 fish in the Dresden factory, and I was able to add another factory in Cologne.
Ooh, nice orange factory.
Yes, we're getting, which helps us in producing naval units. And
Oh, yeah, I
that's
guess citrus. Yeah,
something
okay.
I'm probably going to start
Makes sense.
doing in Dresden.
Yeah,
with
they're
the
playing
chocolate
with a
factory,
small
we
map.
actually got,
Or maybe
we
they're
got
on a
to go
tiny
see
map. I'm not
the
sure.
Chocolate Museum
But there's 3 map types.
in,
There's small, there's tiny,
Cologne, yeah,
small,
which was
and
very,
like
very
standard.
Cool to see
Here,
that.
the
But I
kind
haven't
of
seen
chocolate
any big
factories in
maps.
Hamburg, but yes, there is one in Cologne.
So
and-
that was very cool, and
part
it's,
of our Gamescom trip last summer.
Ooh, so it's sounding a lot like Tim is winning the YouTube poll, 51% to 49.
Ooh, I like those
So
odds.
Tim, how do you feel about that?
I like this. I feel like I should be spotted some beneficial odds here, but I do need to protect my.
Yeah, they're
airfields
okay. They're playing
here,
on tiny and
'cause
quick.
I'm really
Okay.
not looking
I mean,
to go to war with that.
this
just
game's
at
cool
this
because they're
moment
really
when
trying to
I
like
don't
make
have
it so
any
you can
nukes or
play this
anything.
game a lot faster.
But
than
it's
usual,
multiplayer.
if you
don't-
want
you can't
to.
do the same things you would do in single player.
So you can
human player
skip,
is
like,
always going to be
2/3
a
of the
much
game by
more
just going to the modern era on a tiny
opponent,
map
so
as Prussia and France and just get
he
right
could
into a big fight.
certainly
You don't have to have the big
end
build-up.
at war
So that's
over
totally
here
cool.
Before we're really ready.
Like that's awesome that you can do that if
And,
you want.
Ed, do you think you're going to be able to prove
If you're
the
playing
fan
with a
base
friend who
wrong?
doesn't really have a lot of time,
Well,
that
I've
skips the
done
whole
so
like
once,
80-hour
in my first matchup
setup.
with Carl, but the second matchup with Carl did not go particularly well. So, yeah, that 50-50 track record I have is probably reflected in the odds here. Tim is absolutely much stronger player of the game in general. He's constantly stressing our game and making sure that the AI is set up to handle players who can play at that immortal or deity level.
I can't tell you guys how many games of
like you're set up,
Monopoly and Civ are
in
the
terms
same
of
thing.
giving
I can't
me
tell you how many
heads up
games of Monopoly
to
and
sort
Civ
of
I've started where
have
I've
the
not
clock
even
ticking
gotten
towards the economic victory.
halfway
I sort
through.
of do have the
Not even
advantage
close.
going here in terms of a better setup. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I had got the opportunity, shout out to our coworker in QA, David Feldman, who helped me put this save together. but we were both getting to kind of play head-to-head and get the advantage to get the game set up. And I got a really good one there for the econ. Let's just say you guys are lucky I'm not in this game. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I will say I'm not looking to take Ed head-on and invade deep into here because I know from his economic victory progress that he's got a really strong rail network, and that rail network has a lot of economic bonuses, but it has military bonuses too. He's going to be able to move his troops around very rapidly along that rail network.
Example of that is I have this Hussar in Berlin. I moved him one to the southeast. I can now do move by rail, and I can put him right up in the front lines where I want. Actually, I misclicked there.
Did you click the Explorer?
Yeah, I clicked on top of it.
Get in the front lines, Explorer.
Yeah, but so now, boom, he's teleported right there. I've actually brought an army forward. The best army commander I have is this army commander with 7 promotions.
Oh, very
He's
strong.
got the extra command radius. He's been through the assault tree. So wherever he is probably my sort of attack vector south. So hopefully Tim's not looking over at my screen to see exactly where he is, but it's right there. So
Sounds barrier right here.
yeah, exactly.
All right, we got a question from Juno Dude 456. Will players be able to play DLC civs and leaders if one player has them in the game?
Yes.
Or if one player wouldn't own those
That's
civs?
an excellent question. And the answer is, if you own the DLC civs and leaders, they are selectable in the multiplayer setup for you. And so they can go into a game, even if you're playing against people who don't own those same civs and leaders. The other players that are jumping in the game that have not yet purchased those civs and leaders won't have them selectable, but they can play against them, see how they play, decide whether they like them.
Okay, so you got to buy the DLC to play as them. Okay.
Now, let's take a look at the next front over here in Mexico. How's that going? Are the walls beginning to come down?
Yeah, slowly. Navigable rivers, we've revealed them pretty early on, and people have seen that they're in the game, but it's hard to overstate how big of an impact they make in so many ways. This is
I use them every
really
time,
tough
man.
nut to crack here between these two navigable rivers by land, because if I'm attacking while embarked on this, it's an amphibious assault, and that's got some real penalties. Oh no. So I really need to try to get in here as quickly as possible. What I don't want to have happen, that can happen, especially in modern, is with some of these larger cities, is get bogged down in urban warfare in sort of a Stalingrad-esque situation. That can be tough. So I want to...
Now, you have some powerful naval ships there. Are you able to sail up those navigable rivers, and is that able to help you out?
I am, and they are using that to my advantage. This fleet commander here, I'm using my coordinated order here to start cracking at these walls and sailing
Dude,
in.
Mexico's
And
holding
cut off
on. How the hell?
reinforcements from this direction as well.
He's got them almost completely surrounded.
Cool.
One thing I am speculating on is what I want to do with
pretty
my
much.
307 influence. I'm kind of past the point where we're playing nice here. I really want to spend that influence to support one of these war efforts. But am I going to be in a war soon? Yeah, I might want to save some of it for that. But the one thing I can do is
Bear DLC?
I can send Jose Rizal some war support by spending influence towards that. And that will, right now, the overall sentiment in the world is that Napoleon has a little bit more of the popular support. But if I could throw my 121 influence into supporting Jose Rizal, that will even that out. And so the +1 combat bonus that Tim's been enjoying for the last couple turns will get wiped away.
So there's
now, it
more
means
ways-
that there's less for me to spend on myself if I get into a war, but we'll have to deal with that when we get
Yeah,
there.
but now there's more ways to support wars from outside of just using military or gold.
Right.
You can help
Right.
support
And
through.
there is a limit to only, on those third-party wars, you can only once add a support level, so I couldn't do that again, but I might as well get that in there and get, the first level of support for any war is always cheaper than later additions of more support because the cost escalates. So spend, that's a pretty modest spend to give Jose Rizal the boost he needs there combat-wise.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it already.
All right, so another question by Oleg. Will it be possible to turn on fast movement and fast combat for a multiplayer game?
So those are options that we're looking into. We're going to talk at the end of the stream here about some of the additional options that we're going to be prioritizing right after we release. So stay tuned. We will get into things like that later on in the stream.
Cool. A sneak peek for what's to come.
Okay. They're probably
So
going to wait
I
for
am
like
at a
player
point
feedback
right
to see
now
what people
where
want
I'm
done,
really
and then
feeling like I
give them
can't
the option,
let
I suppose.
Jose Rizal undertake the brunt of Tim's attack without.
there's a ship
doing
of the line
something to
there.
support that.
He does have a
So the most
sailing
obvious
navy
thing for
still.
me to do to support it is,
Weird.
since he and I are the only two communists in the game, he is my comrade.
Comrade Jose.
Yes, I think I might make him my comrade in arms and go ahead and ally with him. So if I ally with him, what will happen is the game will immediately let that alliance take place, but then it's going to ask me, are you going to be a true ally, and are you going to join the wars?
You can give him
against
military
Jose
aid.
Rizal's opponents. So
That's a
basically,
lot of influence.
an alliance with Jose Rizal right now is going to thrust me into a war with Tim. I'm talking about it very openly in front of it. Tim can hear all this, but he knew this was coming. This is how the whole stream was set up. We knew we needed to do this. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to form an alliance. He accepts because we have a +90 relationship, so he's very happy with that. And then as soon as I go back out to the game, I get the prompt, an ally is at war. Are you going to support them, or are you going to try to stay neutral? So I'm going to support this, and that's going to put Tim and I at war, which is going to lead to a little conflict right here on our home landmass.
Very cool.
It begins.
Big strats with the politics and war. So there's been a little bit of a sway in the poll. Tim's Tim's fans are sweating, and now you only have 25% support, while 75 is now in favor of Ed as we get into the thick of it with the fight.
Evidently, my propaganda campaign is still working. So.
It's all the influence getting used.
Yeah.
So Tim, how do you feel about this now? The threat has arrived. The declaration of war.
Yeah,
the
Jose
two
Rizal's
comrades
in
are
here.
United.
Yeah, I feel like I need support. So from
Playing as
in-game
Mexico.
and out. So we're gonna add some support to this war, put some pressure on his happiness, and give myself a little bit of a combat bonus. And let's see what these nascent air units that I've been building up can do. Fighters are not great at attacking land units, but they can.
Yeah. And these are the biplane fighter units
Right.
you were mentioning.
Exactly. The fighter class of air units. But that's all I've really got.
So the fighter units will just be good for when Ed tries to use his bombers
Yes.
and his Stuka.
Right.
And so do you think you'll be wanting to get a couple of the trench fighters or bombers in there, or just keep with the biplanes to keep his under?
At least for right now, I'm pretty afraid of those Stukas. My biplanes will automatically intercept any that try to attack within their intercept range. So I don't have to do anything other than just build biplanes and hold on. Although if more land units start coming in here, then I'll have a problem. Fortunately, Paris, so we mentioned that as I take over settlements in the distant lands in Mexico, I'll advance this path, but that isn't all I have to do. I still have to build the Manhattan Project. So I need
Oh damn,
to
he's going
keep
for the
a high production
nuke.
city
He's for real
somewhere
researching it.
in here and defend it long enough.
But it looks like he has to get to the
my
end of
nukes
that goal
online.
first before he can then
And
start
Paris has
researching. So
quite
it's
a
like
bit of
two
production here, so
layers
it's
of
pretty
things he has
well
to do.
defended. So we might have to do some sort of defense in depth here type of thing and hold on to Paris for as long as I can.
All right, and we got another question, one from K9GM3. Does diplomatic relationships apply between human players
up, Quantum?
as the same they would with AI?
They do, and that's one of the cool things about our system is that we worked real hard to make sure that it was very symmetrical, and there was no like AI works one way and humans work a different way. So for instance, if Tim and I had been playing this game for a long time and we had been very friendly and we'd send each other a lot of diplomatic endeavors so that we were like cooperating on research and exchanging food and gold and those types of things, we would have a very strong relationship. And to break that and to go to war would mean you'd have to declare a surprise war, which would cost you a lot of war support points, give automatic war support to the other side, would inflict war weariness on your people. And then some diplomatic options are easier to undertake or only available if you're friendly with somebody. So all those kind of gates still apply between human players as well.
Very cool. Thank you, thank you. So, all right, back to the heat of it. How is this invasion of Mexico City going?
Well, Jose offered peace, and I had to turn him down because he'd be willing to give me 1 or 2 settlements, but I think my path to victory is over here. I can't walk away with fewer than 3 or 4 cities here to get my points that I need, because I don't know that I'm going to be taking any Prussian cities anytime soon here.
Now, it does look like there's still Xerxes, and I believe you're the only fascist civ, so you may be able to still get some points from the Xerxes Mughal down there.
I could, yeah. I don't know I'm going to have enough time to pivot quite that hard, but here we can see the French unique ability showing up here where my
Look at all those
celebration
bonuses,
occurred.
dude.
Normally, you pick your government and you only have 2
Plus
options to choose
20%
from,
gold
but
for
the
6
French
turns.
unique ability is you can choose any of the options,
Damn.
which is quite nice for me right now because I could really use +3 combat strength right at this exact moment. So that's very convenient, and it gives me.
Oh, when does this come out on the 6th? Yeah, so this will be
reshuffle
out
my
on
policies
February
here
6th for
and
anybody who
get
gets
some of
like
these,
there's a couple of different like
fascist,
special editions.
specific
And then also
things
on
in
the
here,
11th,
like
and I
this
haven't
guy
seen a
right here, which is
time
gonna
yet,
help
but I would definitely
quite a
recommend
lot. So we're gonna these are
like
peacetime
following the
policies.
devs on social
We
media,
don't need peacetime
and they might do that thing where
It's
they
time to
show the
celebrate
big
war.
maps
Yeah, it's
with
it's
all the
time
different
to
release
bring
times. So
these
just check that out.
fascist policies in.
But I haven't
And we can
seen
also
a
see
time
that
yet.
Even though this is advanced start game, I have Spanish and Egyptian policies because even in advanced start, it will generate sort of a historical heritage.
Look at all those
for
damn
your
options,
civ.
dude.
So this particular
And all
version
the
of
stuff he's got on
France
the
that I have
right.
right now sort of
Oh
evolved
my
out
God!
of
Look at how
Spain,
many he can choose.
which is interesting. And I'm going to use some of those Spanish policies actually to give me some extra strength. As
So
well.
this is a really cool opportunity that we get in the later ages.
Oh yeah, it marks some of them
where
as
we can
Egyptian
see
or.
the, history being built in layers to
Yeah.
not only on the map with unique quarters.
Oh, that's
or
cool.
Improvements
All
you
right.
might have built.
That's nice
but
that when you
even
go to the modern age,
traditions
the
from
civilizations
previous
you played as
civilizations
before are
keep
kind of
carried
still
forward
with
into this
you.
age, adding
Like they're not
so
gone
many
and you're
layers to the
past them.
gameplay. That was
That you
one
can
of my
actually
favorite things to be
pull some of the
testing,
things from the past
when
into your
when
modern
these things were
age.
in
That's cool.
development. And it's a really cool way
Like Japan did that in World War II with
express
the whole
the story
way
you've
of the
been telling
warrior
over
and
the
such,
course
and
of the
trying to
game.
pull into their history.
Yeah, I think we're
into the modern times.
We're
That's
really
cool.
excited to see what people do.
Like, that was definitely a
with,
tactic.
These sort of different crazy combinations very soon. Very,
That's
very
cool.
soon. We'll see what everybody is able to come up with.
Yeah. Alrighty. Going to another question by Brew Wind. Does the AI know how to use the war support system?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Yes. So expect them to be using that against you, and be prepared to get into some diplomatic battles as well as militaristic ones.
Yes, they will even support other people's wars as well if they really don't like you.
So they'll be supporting their allies, or even just support going against yours just because they don't like you.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, and this one by iBanker. How does text and civic research work in teams and multiplayer? Will one player receive a bonus when another team member completes a tech or a civic?
So, team in multiplayer is something that's not in the game right now because it's being worked on right now. It's one of the things we're going to talk about yet again. This is another tease
Wait,
for
what?
our talking about our roadmap to come at the end of the stream. We're not going to go into a lot of details on exactly how the team system is going to operate, because it needs to be a little bit different in Civ 7 than it has in previous games. There are things like unique civic trees in Civ 7 that it used to be shared civic and tech research. Well, like what happens when somebody has a unique civic tree?
Hey, thanks for all the follows, guys.
So we're working through how teams best fit into Civ 7. And as soon as that feature is ready to roll out, we'll be sharing a lot of information on it, probably have a stream on it, those kind of things.
Very cool. Thank you. All right, and this one by Synth Icon Turtle. Will team will team mechanics change? But we just went over that, and so we'll have some more information about teams coming later.
Wow, look at those tanks on the move, baby.
So, all right, it looks like you are starting to take the front in Mexico onto 3 different cities.
Yeah, I need to hurry up and get this ball moving before the Prussians arrive.
That was a very heavily promoted commander. That was cool to see.
Yeah, all my best commanders are way over here, which is, I guess, a very Napoleonic move here to send all your best units to distant lands.
Very cool. And how is the defense?
Are you sending your commanders into exile? Like, I mean, I've heard of that St. Helena is a beautiful island in the South Atlantic Ocean. If your commanders want to go there, it's fine with me.
So far, it seems...
I might vacation in Berlin. I don't know. We'll see.
Looks like you also have some chocolate of your own. Do you have any factories set up, just producing your own resources?
I do have factories, and they are giving me some benefits. Like this cotton is giving me production towards trading land units, and I'm getting extra healing from my medicinal things here. So even though I'm very clearly focusing on a militaristic approach here, you really can't totally ignore the other aspects of the game.
And don't tell Tim that I just moved my land ship on top of his cotton. So
I need that cotton.
We'll keep that a secret. It doesn't pass.
I was looking for a good target for him. And I think I found one.
All right, we have a question from Great Joe Fo.
He's starting to break through there at Guadalajara.
Does age progress and when crises start in single player depend on you or the AI players?
I'll let Tim answer this question since he set a lot of the system up exactly.
Yeah, it's entirely based off of the age progress. So there are certain age progress thresholds. This is a modern age, so we don't have a crisis in this to show you. But at specific age progress thresholds, the crisis will start. And every player's advancement along these milestone paths communally increase. The first player to get to each of these milestones will communally increase the shared age progress.
So the age progress is something that is just for uniform across the entire game, and then actions that any player does will like put it into that pool.
Correct.
And that will make the crisis trigger across the world. But some of the crises are very interesting. Like Tim and I worked together on the plague crisis, and the plague crisis does this whole evaluation across the world of what city is sort of the ripest target for plague to hit. It like has the most trade routes coming into it.
Oh, we're building the railroads.
Might have crazy overpopulation, those kind of things. So the plague system does evaluations. That's where plague starts to break out. Plague will spread, especially along those trade routes. So it's a whole simulation that happens within the same.
Here comes the
kind of
Panzer
system
IV
that we use for
rolling down into
floods and storms and
the capital.
Volcanic eruptions. So it's very cool, and yeah, you'll have to think about like sort of how your empire is set up. Whether like port cities can be very, very vulnerable to
proxy
plague,
wars.
and
Yep.
even if you have an empire.
Yep, we're starting to see that
stretched across an ocean.
You're excited
that
to dive
plague
into this?
Can be transmitted back across that ocean because the trade ships going back and forth are going to carry that disease with them.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
the
So
plague
they got
was
plagues that can
Probably
spread.
my favorite to be testing as well.
They did that in.
Not only
I thought that was cool when they
impact-
did that in
impact the
Anno.
cities, but it impacted
When a
the
city could get
units and, military,
infected.
and it was very, very cool to engage with. So, speaking of military, how is building up for?
So I have Kumasi in A World of Hurt, I think, here.
Okay, so you're taking down Tim's only friend.
Yes. as a sort of a step along the path to getting closer to the heart of France. So the Stukas are part of my attacks, but I'm actually at the point now where I can have a couple land units that can move in directly.
And so the Stuka are better at more of attacking ground units, while the bomber would necessarily be the best at attacking an actual settlement. But the Stuka clearly can still engage and get that damage in.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it looks like they still have
just
Oh,
that
that looks like,
defending
is that
soldier
Toad
there
artillery on
holding
the right?
line.
Yeah, but he's going to go down next turn, almost certainly. I do also have my small navy is going to try to at least take out some of Tim's resources along the coast here.
We got a battleship, boys.
And I have a larger army that's also just slowly making their way across the continent to where they can start to inflict some
Yeah, it looks like you got a
pain and suffering on him.
thick forest there with rivers blocking, so it's a
Yeah.
slow movement.
It is, but
to-
hopefully we'll just pop out and surprise him.
Very cool. I love the look of Lyon there, that city.
Here's where I have his.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about, this is the distant lands settlement you have closer to
Right, that
the
I
front of
earned
his invasion.
as sort of a prize in a previous war. So I'm just taking my units here and sort of moving them through the back lines of his force just to put a little pressure on him, make it so he can't reinforce his front lines with Mexico. They're not going to be particularly effective, but maybe they'll be able to distract him a little bit.
A little bit of the hit and run warfare there.
Yeah.
So speaking of, how are you feeling over here on the front against Jose?
The pressure is on. We've got one district holding on still in
Oh,
Mexico City.
that
and
one little
Guadalajara
district is holding the
pretty
whole
close to
city?
following as well. And then I think
I guess if you gotta
once
take the
I've
city, you
kind of
gotta take the whole
broken
city.
through,
How it
these
works.
other settlements will fall in pretty short order. But
Yeah, that'll be a lot of reinforcements once you
Oh.
take that first run.
yeah, I haven't looked over here in a minute, and this isn't going particularly well.
Aerodrome
let's see what we
commander.
can do.
Oh, he's got
He's
two
exposed
planes
to
attached
his
to that.
commander here. I can send an air attack on that.
Yeah, so that's something really cool that planes will be able to do is they can get the attacks from just little slip-ups like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that'll bring
that
down
was
the
a mistake
commander.
on my part, for sure. I didn't realize he had quite that many fighters. He had mentioned he was building fighters, but I hadn't
He's
seen
been
evidence of them.
really building fighters.
Yeah.
So again, that's it seems like you might want to get some of those
Very vibrant.
trench,
It is a
what
pretty
are they,
game
the
to look
trench
at. I do
fighters,
like
because
how
that is a lot
bright
of
things
units
are.
coming in.
Vibrant.
But
That's a
you're
good way to
gonna-
put that.
You got a pretty strong city there, Lyon. There's a choke point by the city center there because of the Grand Canyon that you spawned right next to. So it might be tough to just have land units push up through that. And there's the Imperial Guard earning their name.
Kumasi has been captured.
Oh,
I've actually
Kumasi's
earned
fallen.
some points on the ideology path. I'm still not as far along as Tim is, but I'm only 2 points behind. So I'm at least a player in the military victory arena.
So, and that should have given you a great work with Frederick's
It does.
ability.
So I am playing with Frederick has two personas. The persona I'm playing is the Baroque persona, and he gains a great work when I capture a settlement for the first time, and gain an infantry unit when I construct a culture building. I'm not constructing many culture buildings right now, but let's look at our great work screen, and we can see that we have received an ancient sword that
Oh,
we
very
somehow
cool.
pulled out of the archives at Kumasi, and we are taking that back home too.
Very cool.
Oh, war
Because
trophies.
Frederick appreciates great elements of
Spoils
culture
of
like
war,
that,
boys.
So if he's going to find them in the city, he
Wonder how
conquers
close
them
we are
too.
to that nuke.
Okay, very cool. And I found out while playing this, you
Yeah,
also
Rise of
can-
Nations was
if
a
you
good game.
exchange
The
settlements
UI
in a
kind of reminds me
piecemeal,
of Rise of
that'll
Nations.
Still also trigger.
They
So,
got to make another
I was
one.
at war,
I really think they
and
should just,
me
out of nowhere,
and
just be
the
like,
person I
Rise
was
of
at war
Nations
with,
2.
we asked for peace, and we swapped two little town settlements and I managed to get an extra relic from that.
Because Rise of Nations
That's
was
very
like
cool.
playing Civ and Age of Empires
it
at the
looks
same
like
time for me.
the main city of
I thought that was
Mexico is about to fall. So coming up in this next turn, hopefully you'll be able to grab that.
Yeah, and I was just realizing that, I was mentioning the French Empire invading distant lands, but the French Empire did invade Mexico. that did actually happen.
That did. That did
So
happen.
this is history playing out here.
I'm not sure if
the
it was
old
with
history.
tanks and
Yeah, not so much.
Imperial Guard, but yeah, very cool. And so we're talking about the Imperial Guard. They're being used on the offense over here, but at home they're gonna see a lot of use with that ranged attack they have that you were mentioning, where they'll be able to sit in the city and be defensive, but also have a really high defense strength from when they're attacked and can shoot out of it, which is very cool. So we got a whole bunch of combat going on here. So how about we zoom in to get some cool
I will
close-up
say
action?
the fact that the combat sort of persists after you've attacked is just it's very cinematic. It's just a
Yes.
beautiful game to look at.
It is, that's true.
We have
I like the look of the
Mexico
game.
City has fallen. If we look at our progress, it brought us all the way up to the first milestone very
nice.
rapidly.
And that is a lot of units that you just freed up to go help out with the rest of the front.
That was definitely the hardest.
That
part
was
of this
insane,
year. That
how long he was
that
locked
a
in around
difficult terrain to work in.
the capital
but-
city,
Still a race
which is now
against the clock.
Guadalajara.
though. You just hold on to Paris. You got a couple
Guadalajara.
cities you can lose at home,
Blah,
but
blah,
as
blah,
long
blah,
as you
blah.
hold on to Paris for a while, you'll be
Smooth.
able to sneak in with an explosive victory.
Damn, that was a good artillery hit. That
looks
did a
like
lot of
Ed's,
damage.
Sneaking some stuff around over here. So let's take a peek
Yeah, I
at this.
actually decided that I might want to take some naval forces over to the other continent and at least see if they can slow down the demise of Jose Rizal's empire.
That's
So
fair.
I just spent, I had quite a big war chest of gold, and so I spent a few, I have some island cities sort of over in that direction, so I spent some money on some battleships that way. But I think the main event is what can I do, especially with my Stukas, now that Kumasi's fallen, to have them redeployed against the French troops here.
Oh,
So let's check out their attack range, and they can get to these lead.
wow, Leon is now a
French
level 38
units.
city.
And these are your unique Stuka
Crazy.
here. Very cool.
You can actually, I can hear them in Tim's game come making attacks.
Yeah.
I saw one just get shot down.
But
so-
yes, he's got enough fighters that they're not. One came back damaged. I think one got shot down. So I'm
And it
gonna.
looks like you got a bonus of culture there when you took out one of those units. It was 17 culture.
Yeah, I think that was my culture actually.
Yeah, I think Tim got that.
Yeah, for
Okay, I
the
see.
Napoleon bonus.
Oh, okay.
Very cool. All
He's
right,
launching
we're gonna take
airstrikes
another
from the
question.
command
this
unit.
This is by Lots of Pyro. Are there natural disasters, like in the Gathering Storm expansion from Civ 6?
There absolutely are. We haven't seen one in our game here yet, but the same floods, storms, volcanic
Volcano.
eruptions are definitely there. The plague system that we were just talking about
Earthquake?
about 15 minutes ago that
Question mark?
runs through the same set of disaster mechanics. And
I haven't seen
logic as
earthquakes yet.
Some of the other ones. So.
Now, I think you actually do have a notification. Is that a disaster notification? there?
Actually, it's true that there is a river that has flooded. Oh,
Oh,
the river leading up
wow.
to Dresden. I actually.
Yeah, here we are.
Well,
There
whoever,
you go.
I thank whoever asked me that question because I might not have
I
noticed
believe it was Lots of Pyro, which is very fitting because
that
now the
is
city
very
is
fitting.
burning.
Yeah, so I will actually. The good thing is it's not usually too expensive to repair things, so I can go ahead and do that.
You have
pretty quickly.
you're making a lot
wow.
of gold from
Yeah, but
all
that
the
was like the
resources you
stock
have.
exchange and some other important buildings that went out when that river
Oops.
flooded. So.
Horrible timing on that.
Very fun. All right, and this one is by Thigru. When transitioning from
You guys buying the
antiquity
standard
to
or the
exploration and
better two
multiplayer,
versions
will the
worth
new world be
129?
populated
I
by
mean,
players by AI.
I
How
guess
does
it
that
really
work out?
depends on what your budget is and how big of a Civ fan you are. Like if you've been
We
waiting for
always
Civ
set up the
7
game so
since Civ
that
6,
the new world is populated.
And now that it's
even
out in a
in
few days, the hype and excitement are real, and you think
see
you're
it?
going to be playing this every day for the
distant lands is what we call it.
rest of the
and
year?
So you start up the exploration age game. They're probably in the default setting where you've got.
But I
maybe
do
4
not
people
like
in the
this
home line,
practice.
you've got
I cannot
2
stress to everybody
AI
enough
opponents over
how
there,
I do not
who've set
want
up probably pretty
developers
decent
to do this
strength,
anymore,
empires
where
over
they
there.
have the poor
But
person
there'll be land
edition
to
that
settle
comes
in as
out
well,
on
so it is a
a
little
day.
bit reminiscent of the Terra map
It's
that we've
like
had
they're
of old.
insulting you. There's like,
And
oh,
so,
you're only going to give us $70. Well, then
see
you're
what
going to
your
play it
opportunities
5
are
days
over there
later.
in the distant lands.
I remember when we were testing that old Terra map.
Because
and,
the real,
the first
the
time we
real
tested
release
it, we
date
were
was probably
super
supposed to be
excited
February
to get
6th.
over and try out the.
And that's
to
for the
see the
collector's
distant
edition.
lands,
Then
but
they
there's
add this
always one
artificial
player
buffer of a couple
who
of
would
extra
just,
days
instead of picking a
for
naval
less
sim,
money.
would lock in like
I don't like
Rome
that.
and just try
Just-
and take over
just
the
let
home
the game
continent, which was
come
always
out.
very funny.
On a day, pick a
So,
day,
that was
have the
usually
game come
called,
out, and then make a game that's so good that players are going to want to
Heavy
buy the better
barrel.
editions because the game is good. Not to get this
So, it looks
artificial
like we
early
are
access
now
time based on their
seeing the
schedule and
first
calendars.
engagements
I think that's insulting and
homelands.
disrespectful, and I don't like that.
Yeah, the outskirts of Lyon.
Just
are
release your
facing
game.
a
Don't
crushing-
do FOMO.
Let's zoom in and see some of the
Kingdom
the
Come
continuous
Deliverance
combat
2 is
here.
just going to come out on the
And,
4th of
back
February,
and forth
and that's
between
it.
my rifle
And there's
and
different
infantry.
editions for that,
Seem
but the
to have
game comes
a,
out the same day for everybody.
machine gun in
This
the
makes
middle of their
multiplayer
midst,
stuff
and they're
a
trying to
problem.
take down this artillery piece.
Because if your friend is
And
going to get
reminder
it
that
on the
continuous
6th,
combat,
and you don't want to pay for the big old
is
deluxe
how
mega
we
edition, and
even
you're going to get
see
it on
how
the
fighting
11th,
works as
you miss
well,
out on a
because
few
when you
days of
pick
playing with
that
your friends.
engagement
That's
direction, that will be
I hate
where
that.
that unit is locked
just-
down in engagement.
you should be able to play
and so
this
then the
game when you want to
furthest
play this
flanking
game, not
side
hey, pay
you
us.
attack from will have stronger bonuses. So not only
don't
is
like
it
that.
a very cool aesthetic choice where we
And
can
I keep seeing
watch
that more and more, and I keep
battles play out
I'll-
in real
every time I see that,
but we can see that
I'll
through
keep
flanking,
saying that's
like,
insulting.
The gameplay effects of flanking.
Especially when they're asking for $70 just for
Massive
base,
naval
just for
ship
base.
sailing from your lake out of a navigable river.
Don't like that.
Probably my favorite edition.
Yeah, I think
of
that
the
should be
game.
forbidden. I think that should not be. We need more of a pushback
So, yeah,
against
how
that.
are you feeling about your chances right now, Ed? Since now that you're engaged on the homeland, but
I do feel like I have
That's the only
Tim
thing I don't
on
like.
the run here, and that he definitely is not going to threaten my cities in any kind of fashion. It's all just a matter of the clock here. So I am 73 Railroad Tycoon points shy right now, so that's about
okay.
5 turns. So we're getting there, but can Jose Rizal's empire survive for a few more turns? That's not a sure thing either here.
well, I just heard that the polls have flipped again, where it is. I think it
Especially
was
at a time with so
53
much
for
game
Tim
competition, like you've
and
got all these
47 for
great
Ed.
games coming out, a
But,
lot of good
that
games.
was about
And
40
some of them
minutes ago,
happen to
so
come
we'll
out
give
on, like,
update
Game
that
Pass and
coming
stuff, so it's like, okay,
shortly. Now, Tim,
you're
how do you
paying,
feel about your chances right now?
10, 20
You
bucks for
just
Game
scored a
Pass,
major
and a couple of new
victory.
games are coming out.
It's
And then you
all
got
right if
Civ
lose a
7
couple
coming out for
settlements, just as
$70 to
long as you hold on to the one or
$150,
two, that'll be able
depending
to
on
run
what
that
you get.
Project. So you still got a fighting chance.
I mean,
but it's gonna be a fight.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Ed's assessment here that this is it's going to be just trying to
Oh, damn.
race.
oh,
to
he just
a
wiped that
victory
army
here.
out, dude.
Oh, yeah, a settlement is under threat. I agree.
Which one is it telling you? There are choices.
That's true.
Oh, no, that's
they all
accommodation.
feel like they're. Oh, I got my dog fighting accommodation.
Yeah,
tree
that's very
spec'd out,
cool.
So, but we're looking pretty. The military victory can flip very quickly
Yes.
if I manage to get into.
You know if Kingdom Come 2 is multiplayer? No. What would be really cool, though, is
very
if there was
rapid
something in Kingdom
progress
Come Deliverance where you
in a
could,
short
like,
period of time.
I don't know, just
all
1v1
that
each other in a
XP.
tournament fight or something. That'd be cool.
Very cool. Yeah, let's zoom in again on this. Let's see some of the city siege.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just throwing units into here. Some of you may not survive, but I'm okay with that. Because the commanders have the experience, some of these units are a little bit more disposable.
Ooh. Oh, man. Jose is going to be finished off. He's got
Now
nothing.
let's go ahead and take another look at the home front. The invasion going. It's pushing into the cities now. It's absolute chaos
Yeah,
on
Lyon
all sides. A true
Lyon
world war.
has 2 defensible districts, so I'm going to have to take both those out in order to take it. I'm still just on the outskirts of the city, but I was able to take out his field artillery that I had been fighting with there and advance forward. I don't have a ton of artillery on my own, so the defensible districts could be a problem. I'm going to have to probably purchasing some Stukas and putting, or actually some bombers, and putting them in my squadron commanders, so I have a better chance of taking down siege defenses is what I need to be focusing on here.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to need to move quick. I just completed the second milestone here. Managed to capture another settlement, and we can see that I'm only just shy of, I'm going to need 2 more to get into nuke territory.
Oh,
here.
what? Well, nuke territory, boys.
2 more settlements or 2 more points?
2 more settlements.
Yeah.
And just a reminder for everyone that we will be going over the roadmap for what players can expect after the game releases on February 11th. So stay tuned for later when we get into that, once we finish up the game. Now, for those who are just now tuning in, welcome to our live stream. We have a multiplayer game going on where it is Tim and Ed playing head-to-head. Ed is
I haven't even seen
Frederick
Xerxes on the
of
map.
Prussia, and is trying to get the
Xerxes
economic
just got, like, one
victory
little
and
city,
is pushing his
just
advantage against Napoleon of France, who is being played by Tim, who's trying to get his military victory. It is a race against time for Tim right now, and it looks
Who's
like
making
you are
bombers?
selecting to make a lot of units in that production queue.
It's all units at this point. We don't really care about buildings.
Where the hell's
right now.
Xerxes? Imagine if Xerxes just comes out of nowhere.
Production in Paris when we do actually unlock them. Oh, that's a lot of units there as well. Oh, and he's taken out my rail station. Yeah, so if you pillage the rail network, that can really hobble my ability to maneuver.
Yeah, taking that rail station's a big one. So that'll disconnect that settlement from the rail network.
Right, so this Guard Imperial unit has been sort of isolated and surrounded, so it's looking grim for them. But hold on, hold the line, Guard Imperial.
Now, he'd still have to push through Nancy's right there, and there is at Lyon, there's a major choke point with the Grand Canyon that I think will be.
Oh,
I think
right.
that'll prove.
That's
a
another
tough
thing to consider,
defense,
too, is
but,
there's all those
the main question
natural
is less about if he's gonna be able
landmarks
to take
that
you out, and more of
actually do kind of change the
race
gameplay
against
a
that
bit.
economic victory.
Plus, you can build next to them for bonuses, which I thought was
yes,
cool.
once you finish the legacy path for the economic victory, Ed, for the economic legacy path, you then will unlock that victory. Do you want to go into the details?
Yeah,
a little
we
bit?
just talked a little bit about how I would be getting a great banker unit in my
Yes.
capital. The great banker has to visit the other world capitals and get each of those nations to agree to join in and also participate in the World Bank. Now, the agreeing isn't something that you go to that player and like, if I asked him if he's going to agree, he would never agree. It's just a matter of, in the game, you have to spend gold and influence. And if you have enough of that, if you're really that humongous economic powerhouse, then you can just get them to buy into the World Bank. So basically, it's going to take me I'm estimating about 6 turns to go around and get it. I might be a little bit, I'm not spending all my gold just in case I get to that point so that I have some gold and some influence to spend there. I might be underestimating what the cost of that is just because, you know, I have both Xerxes and Napoleon who aren't friendly with me, and it's going to cost me more to get them to buy into the World Bank if they're not friendly. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I'm hopeful I've got this set up just right.
Yeah, well, so the cost of the sort of capstone victory type actions and projects is reduced the more legacy points you have of that type from previous ages. So this is an advanced start, so we're not going to have any advantages or disadvantages, but if previously I had been following a military path and gotten all my military legacy points, I would have a leg up on completing the Manhattan Project and the Operation Ivy project in Modern. So your progress along the legacy paths in the previous ages will help you win a final victory of a certain type. But you can win any of them. It's just going to be a little bit harder.
And now we have a question coming in from Xtrees. Can certain victory conditions be turned off, like in Civ 6? For example, would you be able to just keep military and economic victory on while turning off a culture victory?
It's a very good question, and we absolutely anticipate as our game is out there and people are giving feedback on us, we're going to want to be spending time making adjustments to victories, allowing you to mix and match different combinations. I think we're going to be talking a little bit about what a live event is going to be at the end of the stream today, and I think that's a great place for us to try out new types of victories and see whether or not some of them are popular and maybe make those be alternatives. So victories is a huge opportunity for us to keep the game fresh, to introduce new ways to play through the different ages, and toggling them on and off, that probably certainly going to be, or choosing specifically which ones you like. I think that's going to be a part of it. It's not in the game right now, but it's very much in the forefront of what we're thinking about.
Very cool. Right, and next we have from Sullivan Gold, what will be the max multiplayer lobby on release?
8.
So
8 player.
It does depend a little bit. The multiplayer count's a little bit lower on Switch, but assuming that you're not talking about Switch, you can play an 8-player multiplayer here in the modern age. In the game that Tim and I are showing.
Switch.
Because of the distant land mechanics and the fact that players might want to take that Antiquity game and roll it over into exploration, we want everybody to have the chance to have treasure fleets and take advantage of the exploration age mechanics. Right now, it's set up so that if
do
you
a turn-based game in
start a
2025?
game, the count is set at 5. Well, we know people are going to want to play with even more people than that, so we have work underway already to get it so that we'll be supporting 8 in any configuration pretty soon here.
Very cool. Thank you, thank you. We have another by Da Wasabi HD. Is there a tech to reveal the whole map?
Yes. The satellite tech will do that.
Let's go ahead and look at that in the tree.
So there's not really a tech to do it, but if you complete that launch satellite project that is part of the scientific legacy path,
that's cool.
That will reveal the whole map.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about the other legacy paths. We've been focusing on economic and victory.
Map reveal.
So what is that scientific legacy path, and what would that victory be looking like? I know, Ed, you have an edge on science here, although you're focusing on the econ. So what would...
So you'll see on the tree that there are these light bulbs that represent key achievements along the scientific path. Since I have been through flight, I could have done a transoceanic flight. I think I actually have to get that point. If I go check my
I believe,
science progress,
got that one.
I've done that one. But the other items are ones that I haven't quite gotten to. 3 more turns till I get to aerodynamics.
Yeah, if you haven't played this game before, like a Civ game, there is quite a bit of guidance.
I can launch a satellite
in the game. You can turn on a lot of tutorials and things that'll help you kind of play.
The victory, and the victory is
and they're pretty helpful.
Space flight. So both of those are on that rocketry tech at the end of the tree.
Very cool. And then for the culture, I know Napoleonic France has a strong edge in culture. You are focusing on military, but what would that culture victory look like?
Right. If I went down this and I was able to use my explorers to go out and find artifacts from a different age and then put them into my great work slots and my museums, then I would be able to complete that legacy path, and then the capstone for that is to hold the World's Fair, which is a very expensive wonder that you'll need to build in one of your settlements, and then you will win.
And it looks like you're about to take one of these final settlements here.
Very close, but don't.
That means we're going to get the nuke, boys.
I think I'm going to need another.
Once he takes that settlement, we might
this one,
see ourselves a
I'm gonna
nuke.
need to swing down this coast here.
Now, we just got some interesting info on YouTube. It is 53 Tim and 47 Ed, but then on Twitch, It's 72 ed.
Wow.
And what would that be? 28 tip.
Well, I think these YouTubers know what's up. So that's
So it's Team YouTube versus Team Twitch right now.
yeah.
And so will this last settlement get your complete the legacy path for you so you can start working on Sun and
One
Death?
short. I'm gonna need one more, but I might be able to be sneaky and take out some of these coastal settlements. I bet these are pretty lightly guarded as well. But we'll see. He's got a long road to Paris.
Yes,
I
long road.
might have time.
But all roads lead to Paris.
And I was able to use my rail network to very quickly move people from Marseille to Bordeaux over here.
I am
slow down
45
this assault.
points for finishing Railroad
YouTubers.
Tycoon. And I believe I've got 15 factory points per turn, 3, 9. Oof, I need one more factory good. I need to somehow increase the factory capacity in Hamburg.
Could you buy a Oh, I know. A port increases the resource.
Yes. It's a really
slots.
expensive build here, but I do that. Then Hamburg can produce more chocolate a turn.
Oh,
There we
wow.
are.
And I can actually give them these other resources too. Let's give them a little extra
Furs for
happiness.
happiness? Nope.
Truffles. Is Hamburg connected to your? Oh, those resources also might not be connected to your internal trade network.
That's what's
True,
going on.
true.
Okay, it doesn't matter. I should be able to finish that in 3 turns now, and then it's on to the World
Nuclear.
Bank.
We're about to see nuclear.
All right, 3 turns, and then onto the World Bank, which I believe you said would also take about 3 turns.
No, it's going to take me. I figure that's going to take me probably 6 turns because I'm going
Okay,
to
one
move
to
to
move,
a capital,
one to
one
establish.
to spend the gold. And
Yeah.
So I should be 9 turns maybe out. From
Okay. Do you think you could finish out those projects in 9 turns?
It's going to be close. Paris has a lot of production, but the Manhattan Project is a pretty significant undertaking. So we'll see. It's going to be pretty close. I'm just realizing if I can put enough pressure on Jose after taking this out, he might give me another settlement in a peace deal, which
I
might
see.
That might be
get
your-
me
yes.
what I
Really?
need.
What?
So we'll see.
How many settlements is he down to?
You could actually
He's
give
got-
a settlement or a
Still
town
have 5, so, yeah,
away
he's
in
easily
a peace
could
deal?
decide that that's worth peace for him.
But
He's-
he's
he's
I
got
didn't even think
a
about that. That's
negative
cool.
3 war support with him, and they do consider current war support in peace deals. So he knows that world opinion.
Well, there's a way to
is
get
on
more
his
settlements
side.
by fighting for
pretty
other
heavily
settlements,
here.
maybe.
Man, look at those attacks.
Oh boy.
I think we'll be able to capture
Ooh,
it.
That's gonna be a
50,
20.
50. Get in there. You can do this. No. You can do. No.
Oh,
no.
Next turn.
These coin flips are not going my way. Let's protect my commander.
looking-
No air
Close.
support nearby.
All right, the district defenses are now destroyed, so you should be able to.
Yeah, I
move
don't
in
remember
there.
doing that before.
Yeah, I need to take this.
It may have been,
airfield out.
might not be new,
Oh,
but
this
I didn't
tank
even
is
think about that
blocked.
as being a
Maybe we can
viable option.
carve a path for my.
You could completely wreck a
Armor
city and then be gifted
cut
another
through
one
here.
in a peace deal that's actually
Now,
not completely destroyed.
We're talking about with the home front, would you be able to utilize someone else's rail network against them, or is a rail network an independent system for is it used independently?
Once
by
you've
civilization?
captured cities and the rail stations are intact, and yeah, it can become part. It would have to be part of your empire, though. I can't go on to towns that are controlled by another player and try to use their rail network.
Oh, and there I have managed to capture. So let's see. This is the moment of truth.
How far does the
Will
modern
you
age go?
accept
Here we are.
Well, they were talking
Oh,
about
he
like
will.
manned space flights and such.
Lisbon? Your ally has betrayed you.
Oh man, and that's
Oh.
the ideology legacy path finished. So now you can start working into
And I have
building
that notification on my
big
screen.
bomb.
Napoleon Revolutionary has completed ideology.
I agree. That is a beautiful proposition. Jose.
Look at him smiling at you. J Riz.
Nuke time. Nukes. Our first look at the nuke.
So now to achieve that victory, you need to work up and just get a couple different projects, and then you can
First
launch
nuke,
the bomb.
and this happened.
Yeah, so we're going to, what are we working on here? An aerodrome. We don't care about that anymore. We are going straight into establishing the Manhattan Project here.
Wonderful. Get that up there.
And we
I
will
won't
get
say
as
how
much
many
production
turns
as
that
we
is
can.
out loud to keep Ed on his toes.
Yeah, we will let the audience see that we are
Oh, really?
not too far away from, well, that's step one
Yeah.
of completing it.
Do you have a heavy bomber somewhere?
I do not. I have not. I'm behind technologically, so I won't be able to use my nukes on you until I have a plane capable of carrying them. I don't have sufficient technology to do that. But I will potentially be able to complete the development of the bomb.
And that in itself is winning.
Right, and that in itself can be winning.
You just
Even
saw
though
the
I don't quite
Roadcraft
have a
preview
delivery
video?
mechanism
Yeah,
ready
and
to
they're
go just yet.
showcasing more videos. That's going to be fun, man. That's what
These
we've
are all
always wanted
things
for
that we're
construction
sort of
games.
working
I can't
out,
wait.
Working on. Let's get those truffles.
More
in there.
piggies. More bacon.
All right, and how is your sieges going
I
down?
have Marseille is in a lot of hurt just from my battleships. Lyon, I've been trying to take it out with some of the bombers that I built, but he still has some pesky fighters in that area, and so that has been going a little bit less effectively. And Bordeaux here, where I, reached the outskirts, had the train station for a while. I've lost control of the train station,
Took
but
it back.
yeah, so I don't think that one's under much threat right now. It's Lyon and Marseille that I'm threatening to take
You have
from.
a very advanced, a small but powerful navy right there.
Yeah, and they're getting better through some of these promotions I'm getting on that fleet commander. So yeah, Dresden's just been cranking out one naval unit after another to try
Man,
to
time for nukes. Come on.
exert pressure down this coast here.
Pretty cool. Let's see. All right, I believe we'll be having some questions we'll be able to check out soon. But until then, we can see him remobilizing those planes, getting them to the front lines. Let's zoom in on some of those battleships just so we can get a cool look at them.
Ooh.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the big smokestacks. That's awesome. Is that a little navigable river tile there?
Yeah, it
you can
is.
The
sail into?
Missouri.
Yes, so I can do damage to all sorts of, pretty much reach any tile in Marseille and do damage to it because the navigable river is giving me access. And Tim has no navy that is, at least not one that's making an appearance over on this front.
All right, we have a question coming in from Skopkin. Is the Manhattan Project restricted in any way by your science and tech tree progress? Can you start it, or can you just start it as soon as you finish the ideology path?
Yeah, you can start it as soon as you finish the ideology path, as I did, but you won't be able to use nukes on other people unless you have researched
The planes?
those heavy bombers
Yeah.
right now.
And which one's the heavy bombers? That's the aero.
Yeah, that's in aerodynamics, which I'm working my way towards. I'm 2 techs away from.
So it
I
is
need
locked via
mobilization,
tech.
and then I can get aerodynamics.
So you can start working on the projects as soon as
Unless you go
possible,
past that with
getting the
rocketry.
bombs. It's the delivery mechanism that takes time.
Right.
Maybe. ICBMs?
Yeah, maybe, well, if you weren't at war, then I guess some science buildings would be beneficial.
Right, to help me out here. Absolutely. We'll make you a fort
Fort
town.
town.
Yeah, so
because-
a really cool demonstration of the town system and the specialization of towns. So a fort town will increase its defense and buff the healing of units from inside that town, which is very cool.
And we're going to hustle as many of these units as we possibly can off of this front, pack them up into my commanders for very convenient movement of large numbers of units. And we're going to get them into trying to help me out as fast as I can here.
All right, we have a question from Magical Euro. This is the first Twitch stream he's been able to get into. What is the absolute craziest thing you can do in this game that you cannot do in Civ 6?
I think the craziest thing that I have seen in any of our playtesting is some of the battles we've had over treasure fleets in the exploration age, and that doesn't exist in Civ 6 at all. Especially in multiplayer during the exploration age, you think, exploration age, people are just like sailing around the world and discovering stuff. But no, it's been knocked down, drag it out, military, and it's cool. I like fighting with tall ships, and we've had
treasure fleet stuff does seem cool.
Fleets full of treasure, swapping hands back and forth during the same turn between different players. So some of those things have been really fun.
I've been a part of some major naval battles going on about swapping around treasure fleets. One of my things that I think is crazy is when I mentioned earlier, being able to stack the different civilizations' abilities. And so you can get some really, really crazy scenarios, and as well as when you mix match different leaders. And I'm not going to get into too many of the ones I've found because I want the community to find them and get to see them for themselves. But there are
We're going to
some
see
really
a
awesome
nuke in
combos
like
to make.
1907.
Yeah, there was a multiplayer game we were having just kind of for fun where we just decided that everybody was going to be America. It was America versus America versus America. And we had Harriet Tubman America versus Lafayette America versus Ben Franklin America. And what was really interesting about it is that even though we were all America, each of us got different precursor civilizations generated. And just because of those subtle differences, the traditions that we inherited, we had 3 very different flavors of America, actually. We had like a much more economically
Barbecue,
focused
sour
America.
cream,
We ended up with a slightly more scientific America and like a slightly more diplomatic America.
Cheddar.
And they actually felt like distinct, even though in a multiplayer setting we were playing, a what is ostensibly a mirror match. So with in terms of civs. So that's like a really cool new thing, and that was definitely a sort of aha moment when that happened.
When the vision comes together. Yeah, it's very cool.
Leon, it's looking a little grim over here.
I've been doing some work near the Grand Canyon there.
Yeah.
And
if you get a couple more,
we may want to notice that
I
the
see.
railroad tycoon, the trains are chugging home to the stations in Berlin.
I just got that notification in my game, so.
And
now we have him.
so there is a great banker in
Marvelous.
Berlin.
So where are you sending them first?
He can travel to cities, and after he's traveled there, then he can do his job to establish the World Bank. So he actually has movement this turn, right after I've done that. So you notice that all the capitals are lit up. Let's see where Jose Rizal's capital in exile is, and send him over there. And so that consumes his movement for the turn. And then next turn, he should get a new unit action to establish the World Bank there.
Now, do you just need to be in any tile on the capital or the city center?
I'm hoping that any tile is okay. Otherwise, I made a placement mistake, and we'll see if that comes back.
You're also researching the last tech, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I have started on rocketry as well. I would have to go back if I wanted to try to pursue the scientific victory and go and finish up those projects. But that is one cool thing. Sometimes you might want to pursue 2 victories, and then it's just whichever final victory, culmination, capstone moment you can get to first. I've had that situation in several of my games I've been playing where I finished 2 legacy paths. I'm like, well, what's going to be faster, Great Banker or launching a rocket? And you get there and you do the math and figure it out. And sometimes it's not even the one you expect.
Yeah.
So it can be useful to pursue more than one for sure.
That's what's going to happen.
Especially when you're in previous ages, because if you're in exploration and antiquity and you plan on playing that full game, you want to. I really promote the idea of going and getting as many of the legacy paths as you can, because you'll get bonuses into the next age. However, once you do get into modern, then yes, you get the sudden death victories where it's important to focus on making sure you can achieve something there. So. And so now that we are approaching the victories, why don't we talk about how the nukes can be used? Are there different types of nukes?
Boy.
How do we do that delivery process?
The
Let's go into
MIRV.
the details there.
Right, and hopefully we'll get to there. So once I have the Manhattan Project, I will unlock a project in the city's called Build a Nuclear Weapon. I need an aerodrome with a heavy bomber in it. And once I complete that project, it'll load the bomb into that heavy bomber. And
boy.
on the aerodrome commander, you'll see this button here where it says WMD strike, and I currently have no available warhead. But once I have a warhead in my Empire, I'll be able to click on that and try to strike a tile. His fighters will be able to intercept it, so I do need to account for that. But I can use a nuke anywhere I want. I could try to nuke these forces over here. It'll irradiate the tiles around it, and
So you can
do
set up
heavy damage.
A blocker with the
Oh, boy.
radiation.
Right.
Here we go.
So that's one way to use the nuke.
Incoming
weapons. And
nuke,
then the other
boys.
part of it is that once I complete the Manhattan Project, I'll have a second project available, which will be called Operation Ivy. And completing that will just instantly win me the game. So that will be, I've created, I clearly have a nuclear superiority at that point that I've demonstrated. You sort of do a test, a nuclear test that sort of proves to the world that it's a bad idea to mess with you from this point out. And that is sort of how this military victory will come to a close.
Since you finished out your turn, let's zoom in on the Manhattan Project Wonder so we can go ahead and see what that looks like
it's
under
building out
construction.
over here. We're getting there. It's in progress.
Looks like the fence is from Jurassic
I've
Park.
got-
What the hell?
Well, don't tell Ed how many turns we have left
not
here, but
keeping
let's
that.
visually see how many turns we have
I
left.
did peek once, but I'm not going to look for updates. So
You got to do
So-
the
it's nip and tuck for sure.
get a box or a blanket.
I
to
think the
separate.
fact that your Air Force is under teched is going to be my saving
Yeah,
grace.
that is definitely my Achilles heel. We'll see what we can do. Maybe can we do anything to speed this up even? Not really. That'll help. Every little bit counts.
I've been trying to pillage some of your infrastructure as I get to your cities. As
Yeah,
well.
I
Take down some of your
just
science buildings.
Reached. Oh, we ended on.
It looks like we had the score victory on.
Oh,
so
we had the
it'll
score
bring
victory
the
on.
age to a close as we have reached
So
100.
Yeah, we weren't
Close.
paying attention.
What the
to
hell?
Age progress. We're
Where's
so
my damn
focused
nuke?
on the victories.
So that brings up a good point. There is another victory condition, which is the score victory.
It has to be there in case you ever get to the situation where you're in a stalemate position
Yes.
and nobody is able to win.
Yes.
Right,
And
and
this will be
The score victory in Civilization
probably
7
turn that off.
is a little bit different than how score victories have worked in the past. It's the accumulated number of legacy points you've had across the whole game.
And so Napoleon takes the win
Nuke-polion
because
won.
Napoleon has gotten the most amount of legacy points across the game.
Let's see. I think it was my cultural. Yes, my
Yeah,
cultural
we-
points just barely.
So let's
5 to
let's bring
4.
up this screen here that shows those points.
Yeah,
So they said this is a
saved
fail-safe
by the
mode if you
bell.
to avoid
so
like endless
narrowly.
gameplay.
So who
you
was
turn
it?
that
YouTube
off though.
that was Team Tim, or was it
Yeah.
Twitch that was
So-
Team Tim?
So because of the
Yeah.
age progress meter, you won. I think the next thing that would have triggered was I should have been 5 turns away from winning with the Great Banker.
Oh, man.
Yes.
And then I'm not sure how many turns you were out from getting a heavy bomber, but probably
Yeah,
like
it was
10
a
turns.
Probably, yeah, because I would need to do the operate. Yeah, it was probably, well, we're on quick speed, so it might have only been like 5 turns.
February 3rd,
It's very, very
you guys
close.
are going to see videos on
All right. Well, Tim
nukes.
gets it.
First
I'll
nuke.
congratulate him here.
Unexpected end there.
Well, like we said, we
That's
hadn't
what you're
played
gonna
this out
see.
before,
Yeah,
so
that
It's going
is
to be a million
we
people
knew,
putting out.
We knew
first
all about what
nuke
was going on with the legacy
videos.
paths, but we ended up not focusing as hard as what the age progress meter was doing.
And
And
it
that
was
is
What the
potentially a
hell?
valid strategy in a multiplayer
got
game to
robbed.
push the age progress as fast as you can in order, if you see somebody who's just about to win one of the sudden death victories, if you have a point advantage, and you because you've spread yourself out across a bunch of different victories.
The nuke!
That can be a very
nuke.
valid approach.
I nuked the nuke
looking
and
at the math, but
Civilization
obviously
nuke and
I
nuke
hit that
happened.
Final.
That's what it's going to
Road
be,
Tycoon
February
milestone, you
3rd.
hit the final
And that pushed us.
military.
Everybody's going to be able to start
milestone,
putting
all
out
those
nuke
things we're
videos,
pushing the
nuke
progress.
shorts,
And this
nuke
goes
longs,
to,
nuke
point
wides,
where if
nuke
we were
lives.
talking about not looking at the science
Probably
victory,
not
not doing
lives.
those projects because you're fully focused on the econ, but now we can see that going in and pursuing the other victories can help.
How long did their
situation.
run
And
take?
if
I don't
people
know.
feel like, well, we don't.
I don't
want
know if they
score
did a full
victory,
game or if they
beyond, we
did-
really
I think
want
they
it to
started
be a
an
sudden
advanced
victory.
start.
That we showed the settings at the very beginning of the stream where you can go with the long age. The long age is gonna it pushes the number of points you need to finish an age way back, and so that gives you plenty of space for the sudden death victories to kick in.
And conversely, the abbreviated ages is going the other way. And when we've played with those in multiplayer, that almost always ends in a score victory. And so you can sort of skew your preferred way to play. In
And
either
this is
direction.
something that, as we get more data in, as we get feedback from the community, we'll be tuning all these numbers. It could be that it might be good to have a little bit more leeway before age progress, or maybe only in modern age. Is that the case? So we'll be paying a lot of attention, which I think is a good segue,
Yes,
Sean.
perfect. I was about to pick up on that one. So great game, and now we're going to go ahead and talk about what players can be expecting past the release of the game on February 11th, and what that
DLCs.
future roadmap has in store for us. So Ed,
Crossroads
if you
of
would
the
like to
world.
take it away.
So this is our detailed roadmap graphic. You will see
Bulgaria
this both here on the
and
screen
Nepal.
right now, but it is also being posted online with the new dev
Ada
diary
Lovelace,
that's coming out, which is talking
Carthage
about victories,
and
like
Great
we've talked
Britain,
about a lot
4 new
today, but
natural
if you,
wonders.
can't remember all those details and you want to see it in print, that's right there.
April
on
to
the,
September,
on
Right
Victories,
to Rule.
Dev diary.
Wow, look at all the
And
DLCs
one of the key
already.
things about the roadmap is it is composed as you go through month by month. Like this is broken up from left to right. You'll see on the top half of the screen things that you get if you have one of the content collections coming to you because you've ordered either the deluxe edition or the founders edition, or you go out and at some point in time decide to buy those separately. But we also have very, very important free updates to anyone who owns the game at whatever level they've purchased it. Tim is leading up the charge on those updates, so he can talk about them a little bit. But so let's look first at that early March block and talk about what's coming.
Bermuda
with the Crossroads
Triangle,
of the World
New Natural
pack.
Wonder. Wait,
Now,
what the hell?
The Crossroads of the World pack
How's that going to
is
work?
broken into 2 releases, an early March release and a late March release. That's not a pattern that people can, should lock in on. Some of our collections will be broken up into 3, 4 releases, those types of things. So it's not always going to be 2, but that's just how Crossroads of the World works. And in that first release, we have some exciting new civs. We have some B-roll that we can show in terms of what those civs look like. And we have a cool leader. And because these civs and leaders, I think we're seeing the Carthage.
Right here.
So actually, before I say anything more, I'm going to let Tim talk a little bit about what's cool about Carthage.
We couldn't fit this into the $400 million version,
definitely
guys.
becoming one of my
Pay us more.
favorite Antiquity civs to play. It's a very unique experience. If you were a fan of Venice in Civ 5 and that gameplay, this is sort of a spiritual successor in a lot of ways. And I think people are really going to enjoy playing them.
And so that's an important point to make, is these DLC civs were done after we had the base game pretty well figured out and settled in. It's always easier, we've proven this time and time again on Civ 5 and Civ 6, and it's certainly proving true again on Civ 7, that once you really understand the game and what is important for
Mount
getting ahead
Everest
in the
is all.
game, or
We
succeed,
put in a large mountain.
then it starts becoming easier to design civs and leaders that break the game rules in interesting ways. So Tim mentioned Venice in Civ 5. That was maybe one of our best examples of that. But there are other examples like the Maori in Civ 6.
so fun.
Yeah, very fun. And so, yes, sometimes people are a little sad that civs get held out until DLC, but sometimes they end up being much more interesting and cooler. So I'm really excited that Great Britain is in this pack. I know there's been a lot of consternation out in the community as to like how could they not have Great Britain in the base game. And Great Britain is probably one of the most near and dear to my heart civilizations. It's the country that I visited more than any other foreign country. I've actually already been to Great Britain in 2025. Nice. So I'm not going to let Great Britain fall by the wayside. There's going to be plenty of English, British, whatever content from the British Isles before Civ 7 is said and done. And it's cool because we actually had a little bit of trouble with England in Civ 6. We had to redesign them a few times. This time we've had the chance to sit back, see what the base game looks like, then design Britain. So I'm really excited by the British design and also the British leader that we're introducing here in this same content collection.
Yep, and with that we'll have a video that we'll be able to play for y'all right now.
To use and apply the language of science, we must fully appreciate, feel, seize the unseen.
That
so
Ada
Ada
Lovelace
Lovelace is our new scientific leader. So we have leaders who are great in diplomacy, like Machiavelli.
She reminds me of the lady from the Engineers
who
and
are great in
Anno.
culture. I think Catherine the Great is one of our examples of that this time. But Ada Lovelace is one of our premier science civs. And she's sort of taken the science gameplay in a brand new direction. She reminds me of Young Lee from the Leader Pass from Civ 6, where there's like a system that you don't usually engage with in a deep fashion. And all of a sudden, the leader comes along who's really good at that system. And all of a sudden, that's how you play the game. And it feels like a very fresh, unique experience. So we won't tell you exactly how Ada works right now. But we've had a ton of fun playing with her and trying her out recently. Now, a couple more details here on what you're seeing on the roadmap. One is there's been some question about, well, these new civs that are coming in the collections, do they get their own associated wonders, or are they sort of supposed to use the 4 wonders that are part of the pack as theirs? And they absolutely do get their own associated wonders that aren't listed as part of the content. That's just part of the civilization package that you get these days. So the other thing we wanted to focus on is what's going on sort of on the bottom half of this roadmap slide with the free content updates.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that we have some things labeled as major updates and some things as regular updates. That really just has to do with whether it's the first update within a collection, which we're going to have a little bit more fanfare around. But we're not necessarily assuming that one update is going to have more fixes than the other updates. We're just going to be fixing as much stuff as fast as we possibly can and patching things up and balancing things. Tim's doing a great job leading the charge there. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about how these events work and how things in the events might see their way into the game later.
Right, so the first event will be this Natural Wonder Battle, which the events are a lot like if you've been playing the events that are ongoing in Civ 6 right now that just sort of wrapped up. Those are going to continue into Civilization 7. So those will be sort of limited time events that you can participate in, like this Natural Wonder Battle. And then those will, not always, but sometimes have content or things about them that get sort of shed into the base game after they're done. So they're both a way for us to try some things out and see how they go, and a way to keep adding free content and updates into the game for everyone. And so as an example here, we're going to be adding
even
these
this
new
year,
natural wonders like the Bermuda Triangle.
after we get Carthage, Great Britain, Bulgaria, and Nepal, then there's 4 new civs coming after that.
The Geographic Society in the modern age that
and then
we
a
just
total of
played through will be sort of
4 new
integrating
leaders
natural wonder
at the
gameplay
end,
into
too.
that as well. So that's sort of an example of what type of thing you can expect moving forward there.
Interesting.
And I think for the final thing that we want to touch on today is we want to talk about some of the bigger, chunkier updates that we have planned. We don't have an exact timing. You won't see them on the roadmap specifically. But if you go to the dev diary that's been released, there are 4 or 5 items listed there as like our near-term priorities for things that we want to focus on getting in the game as quickly as we can. Some of them already came up during our discussion here. Team multiplayer came up in one of the questions. We want to let people know that Hot Seat is something that we're actively looking at how quickly we can get that out to everybody. Naming of settlements is a feature that is important for people to be able to customize their empire, so we want to be able to do that. And we talked a little bit about how you might have some campaigns or some multiplayer campaigns where you want to play, this age and another age, or just a single age. Right now, when you start into a game, you pick your starting spot, but it's always going to run through the end of Modern, and we want to make it so players have more control over that they can.
So they want to make it so you can win the game and like the age
like the same with
antiquity,
victories like our Modern Age does now.
That's cool.
And then I think
I hope that's what he's meaning. I think that's what
more map types and other map improvements and things like that are definitely a thing that we're looking at.
Yeah. So we want to make it so we'll take some feedback. We've seen feedback from the community already on our map types, so we have some adjustments. Some of the maps are a little blocky in some configurations. We can definitely make improvements there. One thing that's sort of a really good example of what we're doing in terms of listening to community feedback and trying to get things into the game right away is a lot of people have been making comments about the mini-map and how they feel a little bit discouraged that the mini-map is not quite as cool as it's been in previous games where you can see where your territory is. That's a change that we sort of turbocharged in priority.
Yeah.
And so I believe that there are some of our streamer friends who are out there who have copies of the game that already have an updated mini-map, and by the time everyone gets their hands on the game for the initial release, that updated mini-map is going to be available for everyone.
Yeah, they're all playing a more recent build than the one that you saw here.
Right.
And I believe talking about our streamer friends is a perfect segue into what we have next to talk about. So we will be having a Civ World Summit that'll be going on in the next few days, where we're going to have a whole bunch of different streamers coming together and having a head-to-head competitive multiplayer experience. And we have a video to show that off right now.
Oh boy, streamer cringe. World Summit, what the hell? They gotta go to Hamburg for that?
All right, and that is everything we got for today's live stream. So thank you very much for joining us. Follow us on our socials for more information. And I am so excited.
Why can't they just go to Firaxis' studio for that?
On
Why the hell
February 11th on all platforms. I have been.
Why? Why the hell they gotta go to Hamburg for that?
Congratulations on your victory today, Tim.
The hell?
More information.
Is there an event to tie in with that? So Sarah and Potato McWhiskey are gonna host, yeah, but what the hell? Wait, it looks like they did this before. Oh, wait a minute. It must be, okay. That's what it is. It's tying in with their World because of hamburgers. No, well, wait a minute. It says the first Civ World Summit. But what the hell is this? The first Civ World Summit is coming, but what the hell is this? Rocket Beam Civ Gipfel. So this must be a event that they did in Germany before, and now they're renaming it to Civ. This looks like a bunch of German fans who are all getting together to stream. Now they're expanding it to the world? Civ 7 World Champion. I guess, whatever. Alright, so that'll be February 8th at 5 p.m. We could watch it, but also, by then I'll be able to stream it, so whatever.
All right, and that is everything we got for today's live stream. So thank you very much
No
for
nuke,
joining us.
we've been robbed.
Follow us on our socials for more information.
An
And I am
absolute
so
hello,
excited for all of you to
119.
check out our game on February
There's been a
11th
robbery?
on all platforms. I have been your host, Sean Wilson. Thank you very much, Ed, for joining us, and congratulations on your victory today, Tim.
Thank you. You did a great job.
So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Okay, that's all. All right, multiplayer seems like a lot of fun. I'm certainly going to try to play this with Bradford and pretty much everybody. I'm going to ask everybody and see who wants to play. And then you guys can play with me too. And maybe we'll do a couple of games where we try to keep it short and sweet, where we play each of the different ages until we get bored. And then we'll look. There's so much to see here, where it's like you got leaders, you've got ages, and then you've got civs, where it's like I don't think I want to finish one. I think I just want to play and see how far we get and see who's about to win, and then we'll just hand them the W. Like somebody in chat said, they usually play Civ until they start to pretty much like have a pretty much guaranteed win and then start over, which is kind of cool. It's like an arm wrestling match where it's like oftentimes the AI doesn't really fight back when you get to a certain point. So we'll see. Are they making a United Civilizations General Assembly? I have no idea. All right, well, that's going to be all for now then, guys. I'll be back in about an hour and a half for our next stream of Foundation. We're going to play Foundation demo again tonight until the Foundation comes out tomorrow. So we'll be putting up a video for the 1.0 release tomorrow, and we'll be putting out a stream for tomorrow too when it releases into 1.0. Gonna go take a break, probably get some stuff done, cleaned up around here, and I'll see you all in a little bit for our next stream. Thanks for watching.